Chapter 349. Sokka City, Central City, Arena Theme Hotel. Under the leadership of Noah, Rog and others piloted a broken spaceship and successfully arrived at Sokka City, where they stayed at the Arena Theme Hotel specially built for extraterrestrial tourists. Although Sokka has an exclusive currency, the currencies of other advanced civilizations, such as Xander's New Star Coin and the Carry Empire's Kree Coin, can also be used here. However, in order to facilitate the transaction, Rog still took out 500 million New Star Coins from the 900 million New Star Coins and exchanged it for Sokka Planet's legal currency, Champion Coins. As for the remaining 400 million New Star Coins and the more than 100 million New Star Coins he originally had, Rog has no plans to exchange them for the time being. Xander's New Star Coins can be used on many planets, while Sokka Planet's Champion Coins are only valuable on Sokka Planet. Leaving some New Star Coins will also facilitate their activities on other planets in the future. Although for now, they don't have such plans for the time being. But it's always good to be prepared. The 50 million Champion Coins exchanged for 500 million New Star Coins were equally distributed by Rog to Natasha, Scott, and others. Even Xiao He and Hulk received 10 million Champion Coins that belonged to them. As for Noah, a hostage is not eligible to get a share of the money. After dividing the money, Xiao He took the lead and left with Scott, eager to have some fun. Hulk didn't plan to wander around, so Rog arranged the task of guarding Noah for Hulk. As for him and Natasha, of course, they will rest in the hotel for a while. When night fell, Xiao He returned to the hotel with the exhausted Scott and reunited with Rog and others. After resting comfortably for an afternoon, Rog and Natasha enjoyed a dinner in the style of Sokka Planet before taking them to the most important and most popular place in Sokka City, the Champion Arena. Next to the Champion Arena is the tallest building in the city, which is also the building where the ruler of Sokka Planet, Gao Tianzuan, lives. The shape of the building is like a pile of large and small square blocks stacked together, and the color of the outer wall is as red as blood. On the outer wall of the building, there were 4 conspicuous statues. According to Noah, these 4 heads not only symbolized the 4 strongest champion gladiators, but also the gladiatorial culture of Sokka Star. Horseface Thor, Ares the god of war, two-headed beast, and humanoid. Noah briefly introduced the gladiators represented by the 4 statues. There was a hint of admiration in his tone. Rog remembered that in the original timeline, Hulk's statue also appeared on the building, and it was in the most conspicuous position at the top. But because of him, the future that should have existed had disappeared. Although Hulk still came to Sokka Star, it was completely different from when he had inexplicably wandered to Sokka Star. Hulk, you can try to carve your own statue too. You should like the feeling of being worshipped and liked by everyone. Roger said encouragingly as he patted Hulk's sturdy arm. Hulk will work hard. Hulk nodded heavily, exuding an extremely serious aura. There were 2 main ways to participate in the championship battle in the gladiator arena. The first way was to become a slave gladiator of Gao Tianzuan, and then be arranged by Gao Tianzuan. Although this was the simplest way, it was also the way that the fewest people chose. Because becoming a slave gladiator of Gao Tianzuan meant that they would completely lose their freedom. Everything, including their life, would belong to Gao Tianzuan. Therefore, anyone who had a little confidence in their own strength would use the second way, which was what Noah once used, to participate in the gladiator arena as a free man. Participating in the gladiator arena as a free man, regardless of the outcome, would not lose their freedom. But then, the free gladiators who participated in the gladiator arena must start from the most basic multi-person melee. Multi-person melee, team battle, individual battle, preliminary battle, championship battle. The free gladiators must start from the multi-person melee, step by step to the individual battle, and win 10 consecutive victories in the individual battle to qualify for the championship battle. Noah fought from the multi-person melee all the way to the individual battle and won 3 consecutive victories in the individual battle. If it was a slave gladiator of Gao Tianzuan, it would be much simpler. As long as one was strong enough, one's first gladiator battle might be the championship battle. There would be a number of gladiator battles every night in the gladiator arena. There would be multi-person melee battles, team battles, and individual battles. The time of the championship battle was not fixed. Sometimes there would be one battle every week, and sometimes there might not even be one battle in a year. Therefore, every championship battle would cause a strong sensation in the city. If Hulk wanted to achieve the achievement of having a statue on the wall, not only would he have to win the championship battle, but he would also have to win many times in a row in order to obtain the title of the strongest gladiator champion and successfully hang his statue on the building. After helping Hulk register for the free gladiator arena, Rog and the others came to the arena first and booked a VIP box above the arena. Blackie also wanted to register for the competition, but before he could do so, he was pulled away by Rog. Hulk was a warrior anyway. Why would a weapon like you join in the fun? Rog took a cup of Saka Star's specialty drink and sat casually on the sofa in the box, waiting for the gladiator battle to begin. Are you so sure about Hulk's participation? If Hulk's performance is too good, it may cause Gao Tianzuan to make a move. Noah stood behind Rog and asked doubtfully. There's nothing to worry about. Although Gao Tianzuan likes to gamble, he is not an unreasonable robber. He won't do something like robbing. Even if he really wants to rob Hulk, he has to be able to do it. Rog was not sure what kind of strength Gao Tianzuan had, but he was sure that if he wanted to take Hulk and the others away from Sokka Star, Gao Tianzuan would not be able to stop him. It didn't take long for the list of the first multi-person melee battle to be projected over the arena. In addition to a simple portrait and name, there was also the odds for each gladiator. Rog glanced at it. Hulk's odds were not high, only 1 to 2. Not only was Hulk's odds not high, but the odds for the other gladiators were also about 1 to 2. Only Cronon's odds were 1 to 1. 8. Go and bet on Hulk's victory. As soon as his voice fell, Rog threw his championship card to Noah. It contained the 10 million championship coins he had just exchanged today. Although Hulk's odds were not high, there was no reason to let go of such a sure-win bet. When Rog took out his championship card, Natasha and the others also took out their championship cards and let Noah place his bet. Chapter 350. Unlike other gladiators, the number of gladiators in a multi-person melee was not fixed. It could range from 5 or 6 gladiators to 20 or 30 gladiators. The number of gladiators that Hulk participated in this multi-person melee was relatively large. There were more than 20 gladiators. When these gladiators from different planets, with different purposes, and with different weapons poured out of the various passages of the arena, the atmosphere in the arena suddenly became fanatical. The cheers of the audience came one after another, and the host quickly introduced the gladiators in the arena with very provocative words. Hulk, who had green skin and a tall stature, was as conspicuous as he could be on Earth. In this arena where a large number of alien races gathered, the big Hulk was not particularly eye-catching. Instead, he looked a little ordinary. At the very least, compared to those opponents who were wearing armor and wielding weapons, he didn't have any weapons in his hands, and he only wore a pair of elastic shorts. He looked so simple and ordinary. If it weren't for his good figure, most of the audience would have regarded him as a cannon fodder character. Hulk, who participated in a gladiator battle for the first time, was not as excited as his other opponents. He just glanced at the arena and the audience curiously. After looking around carefully, Hulk saw Rog and the others sitting in the box on the top floor and immediately showed a simple and honest smile. I've finished betting. These are the betting vouchers. Noah, who had just returned from betting, took out 4 betting vouchers and planned to distribute the betting vouchers in his hand. Just take it. Anyway, you'll have to get your bonus later. Rog did not take the betting vouchers in Noah's hand and answered casually. At the same time, he waved his hand at Hulk in the arena. When those gladiators just appeared on the arena, he used chakra perception to sense the strength of life energy in their bodies and then came to a conclusion that he already knew the answer. There were more than 20 gladiators in the arena. Except for Hulk, all of them were small fries. Even if Hulk fought all of them alone, the battle would be over in 3 minutes. In addition to sensing the strength of the gladiators' life energy, he also deliberately sensed the audience in the arena. More than 100,000 spectators had gathered in this circular arena that was comparable to 2 football fields. Most of the audience were ordinary people with nothing special about them. In some of the VIP seats and private rooms, Rog sensed dozens of slightly noteworthy targets. The life energy of a few of them was not much weaker than Hulk and Blackie. It seemed that there were still some special people present at the scene, but he didn't know how strong they were. The strength of life energy was not equivalent to actual combat strength. Some special races were born with astonishing life energy, but their combat strength could not be more ordinary. After the host introduced the gladiators in the arena one by one, a red smoke bomb was launched into the sky above the arena, signifying the start of the battle. The moment the smoke bomb exploded, the atmosphere at the scene reached its peak. Without any hesitation, the gladiators in the field attacked the enemies in front of them one after another. The battle royale of more than 20 gladiators officially began. The Cronin warrior with a stone body was the first to go berserk. He hammered the first enemy to death in a few hits, then strode towards the second enemy. Unlike the gladiators who were completely excited, Hulk at this time felt like he had not fully entered the state. He looked blankly at the gladiators who were constantly killing each other. Although Hulk did not take the initiative to attack, he quickly attracted the attention of the other gladiators because he was unarmed. 3 gladiators with different skin colors and races attacked him at the same time. When the weapons in the hands of the 3 gladiators were about to hit Hulk, who had been in a state of disorientation, finally entered the state of combat. Hulk roared and suddenly exerted force in his legs. His whole body was like a green heavy truck, rushing in front of one of the gladiators. Before the gladiator with a sword in both hands could react, he was completely knocked out by Hulk. His whole body was like a baseball that was hit, slamming into the metal wall of the arena. Boom! The moment he hit the metal wall, the gladiator with flesh and blood exploded like a watermelon falling from a high altitude. Bright red blood and broken limbs splattered everywhere. After knocking the gladiator away, Hulk did not stop at all. He showed flexibility that was completely inconsistent with his body size. He quickly came in front of another gladiator, and his huge right fist hit the gladiator's chest like a cannonball. Boom! Unlike the explosion just now, the gladiator who was hit by Hulk's right fist made a low muffled sound. His chest was completely caved in, and he had completely lost his life before he fell to the ground. After killing the 2 gladiators in a flash, Hulk jumped and fell from the sky like a meteor. His thick right leg directly stepped on the gladiator's head, completely crushing his head. He made 3 moves and killed 3 gladiators. Hulk did not make a move, but once he made a move, it was amazing. He quickly attracted the attention of most of the audience. Although the strength of these audience members was not very good, and their vision was not very sharp, they had seen too many gladiators after all. So, they could easily distinguish which gladiator's strength was outstanding. The attack was simple and violent, and the scene was bloody and violent. Hulk's fighting style perfectly met the requirements of these audience members. Soon, cheers for Hulk sounded in the arena. Hulk! 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 Listening to the cheers that were getting more and more orderly and intense, Hulk smiled. He smiled happily. This was the first time he heard others cheering for him. This was the first time he saw people like his battle. This was the first time he was liked because of his battle. Hulk wants to fight. Hulk wants to fight. Hulk wants to fight. Hulk roared excitedly, venting the depression and unhappiness that had accumulated in his heart for many years. On this day, Hulk found the meaning of fighting and the glory that he had longed for a long time. When Hulk was completely excited, the chaotic battle in the arena quickly came to an end. Except for the stone-bodied Cronin warrior, no other gladiator could withstand Hulk's punch. Whether they were wearing armor or not, whether they were strong or not, their ending was to be killed by Hulk's punch. Simple, violent, and without any suspense, he killed them with one punch. When Hulk was the only one left in the arena, the cheers of the audience were like a volcanic eruption that resounded throughout the entire arena. This was originally a mixed battle with many gladiators that was not much to watch. However, with his own strength, Hulk turned a battle that was not much to watch into his personal debut. Chapter 351. Hulk, who had obtained his first victory, left the gladiator arena with a satisfied look on his face. When he entered the gladiator tunnel, he turned back and waved enthusiastically at the audience. After that, he left the gladiator arena as if he had not had enough. For Hulk, this battle wasn't difficult at all. It could even be regarded as very simple. However, it was precisely this kind of battle that didn't have much difficulty that made him experience an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. Hulk began to like fighting. Because he was a free gladiator, Hulk didn't need to return to the gladiator camp after the battle. He could go anywhere he wanted. After winning such a satisfying victory, most gladiators would choose to indulge themselves and find the meaning of life again in debauchery. But Hulk wasn't those ordinary gladiators. He had just won the first battle in his life, and he didn't have any unhealthy thoughts in his mind. He walked excitedly toward the box where Rog and others were. Hulk found the meaning of becoming stronger. Hulk wanted to become stronger, and he needed Rog's help. At the same time, Hulk also began to look forward to the physical combat between himself and Rog. Hulk knew that Rog had mastered many magical moves and many magical abilities that he couldn't resist. But in terms of physical combat, that is, close combat, Hulk was still very confident. Hulk was a little pitiful. It wasn't the first time that he had become Log's test subject. Odama Rasengan, would Dragon Jutsu, would Golem Jutsu, Tsukuyomi, recalling the scene of being tortured by these ninjutsu and genjutsu, Hulk couldn't help but shake his head as if he wanted to completely forget these sad memories in his mind. Under the guidance of the staff, Hulk smoothly came to the top floor of the arena and went to the box where Rog and others were. However, just after he took a few steps, he was stopped by a Cronin warrior who was taller than him. Hulk didn't know anything about the Cronin race. In his opinion, they were just a group of stone men who could move around. However, the Cronin warrior in front of him, who was nearly 4 meters tall, gave Hulk a sense of familiarity. On the chest of this Cronin warrior, there was a blood-red pattern. This pattern looked like a graffiti that had been casually drawn, but Hulk remembered that there was a similar red pattern on the stone golem that he had smashed into rubble with just a few punches. However, the Cronin warrior he killed was only 2 meters tall. He couldn't be compared to the giant Cronin warrior in front of him. Hulk glanced at the red pattern on this Cronin warrior. He didn't say anything and avoided this Cronin warrior. Because the number of VIP boxes on the top floor was far less than the number of ordinary spectator seats, the passageway on the top floor was much wider than the passageway below. Even with the 4-meter-tall Cronin warrior blocking part of the path, Hulk was still able to easily pass through. However, this Cronin warrior who appeared out of nowhere had no intention of letting Hulk leave so easily. Just as Hulk walked to the side, the Cronin warrior's rock fist arrived in front of Hulk. Hulk, who was in an extremely happy mood, didn't expect to be attacked for no reason. Caught off guard, the rock fist that was several times bigger than his head hit his chest hard. Boom! Hulk flew out uncontrollably as if he was hit by a high-speed train. He crashed heavily into the metal wall dozens of meters away. A hole about the size of Hulk's body appeared on the metal wall that was strong enough to withstand the attack of a rocket. Broken metal fragments scattered all over the ground. The loud explosion attracted the attention of many people. The staff of the gladiator arena quickly rushed over. The doors of the nearby boxes opened one after another, and spectators walked out one after another. When they realized that the one who was sent flying was Hulk, who had just won, many of the spectators immediately guessed the truth of the matter. It wasn't difficult to guess the truth just by looking at Hulk, who was sent flying, and the Cronin warrior who had an unfriendly expression on his face. Hulk had just killed a Cronin gladiator in the gladiator arena. Now, the Cronin gladiator's friends or family members immediately found Hulk and tried to get justice from him. If it was on other planets, this kind of public retaliation against a gladiator would definitely cause strong dissatisfaction in the gladiator arena. But it was different here. This was planet Sokka. As long as you didn't attack Gao Tianzuan's gladiator, as long as you didn't retaliate in public in the gladiator arena, and as long as you could give enough compensation, Gao Tianzuan wouldn't mind the death of a free gladiator. It was precisely because of this that the Cronin warrior dared to attack Hulk here. Skull Crusher, the master wants you to deal with this guy as soon as possible. The master wants to watch the next battle in a quiet environment. A curvy Carry woman came to the side of the Cronin warrior Skull Crusher and said expressionlessly, "Before the next battle begins, I will bring this guy's head back. I will definitely not disturb the master's mood." Although this curvy Carry woman was less than half of Skull Crusher's height and didn't have any strength at all, Skull Crusher's reply was full of respect. After getting Skull Crusher's reply, the Carry woman didn't even look at Skull Crusher and Hulk. She didn't even look back as she walked into a private room and lightly closed the door. "The person you killed in the gladiator arena is my younger brother. Although I am very angry, this is not a reason for me to kill you. You will die purely because you made the master lose the bet. That's all," Skull Crusher said as he walked towards Hulk. He didn't care about Hulk's burning anger at all. Although this green guy had some strength, he would definitely die today. Skull Crusher wasn't blindly confident. Instead, it was his battle record that gave him such confidence. Unlike other Cronin warriors, Skull Crusher had the potential to become the Lord of Cronin. Once his height exceeded 5 meters, he could become the king of the Cronin tribe and become the overlord of the Cronin tribe, a name that would strike fear in people's hearts. Unfortunately, Skull Crusher didn't have such an opportunity. Just as he walked towards Hulk, a voice that wasn't loud but was clear enough entered his ears. "The Hulk you just attacked is my friend. Although I am very angry, this is not a reason for me to kill you. You will die purely because you have a pretentious master behind you. That's all." The person who spoke wasn't someone else. It was Rog, who walked out of the private room with an unhappy expression on his face. Rog. Chapter 352. Rog was originally in a good mood, but this arrogant warrior Cronin and his master completely ruined his good mood. Hulk won the first battle, and it was a beautiful victory. He also won a small bet because he bet on Hulk. If there were no accidents, tonight would be a very happy night. However, there would always be people who would create accidents that would completely ruin your good mood when you were in a good mood. For example, this Cronin warrior called Skull Crusher. Therefore, Rog used Skull Crusher's words to return the favor. As soon as Rog finished speaking, Skull Crusher slowly turned around in this narrow passage and stared at him angrily. After quickly sizing up Rog, Skull Crusher quickly made a judgment. This was an ordinary person from an unknown planet, and he didn't pose any threat. Although Skull Crusher was now a slave who had lost his freedom, before he became his master's slave, he also wandered the universe for a period of time and made a small name for himself. It was also because of his adventures that he met his current master and found a goal that was worthy of his loyalty for the rest of his life. "I don't care if you insult me, but you can't." Skull Crusher clenched his fists and suppressed his anger as he spoke slowly. However, before he finished speaking, Rog raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at him. Lightning evasion, Thunderbolt finger. A silver-white lightning bolt as thick as a finger appeared on the tip of Rog's right index finger. It instantly crossed the distance and accurately hit Skull Crusher's huge rock head. Boom! Skull Crusher didn't have the chance to say the second half of his sentence because the moment the silver-white lightning bolt hit his forehead, his rock head exploded as if it was blown apart. Rog's sudden attack not only surprised Cronin warrior Skull Crusher, but it also surprised all the spectators and arena staff. They originally thought that Skull Crusher and his master were already domineering enough, but they didn't expect Rog to be even more domineering than them. Cronin's warrior, Skull Crusher, never would have thought that he would die with his head smashed into pieces like his name suggested. In his life, he had used Skull Crusher to take the lives of countless enemies. And today, he, who is called Skull Crusher, was killed by Rog's Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher's head completely exploded and fell to the ground, using his life to create a dull sound. After easily dealing with Skull Crusher, Rog put his finger in front of his mouth and blew gently, blowing away the numbness that originally didn't exist. Thunderbolt finger seems to be a new ninjutsu, but in fact, it's just a different use of lightning evasion, lightning palm. There is no difference between the two techniques except for the place where the lightning is released. However, in order to make his attacks look more impressive, Rog gave a new name to the thunder palm that he released with his fingers. The next time you meet someone who's deliberately looking for trouble, you don't have to care about their background. Just beat them to death. I'll take care of the trouble you cause." After explaining to Hulk, Rog came to the box where the woman just entered and lifted his right foot. Taijutsu, monstrous strength. In order to make his kick violent enough, Rog directly used Taijutsu, monstrous strength. Boom! The metal door that was a few centimeters thick, when it was kicked by Rog, produced a terrifying deformation visible to the naked eye. In the next second, the metal door that could withstand most individual weapons was kicked away by Rog. It flew into the room like a leaf being swept up by a tornado. It crashed heavily into the wall of the room, which was also made of metal. When everyone in the box was attracted, Rog leisurely walked into the box step by step. Just now, there was a guy who couldn't afford to lose. After losing the bet, he asked his men to find trouble with my friend. I want to see what kind of trash this can't afford to lose and play with. Although Roger's tone was very calm, the provocation in his words was as obvious as it could be. As long as these people did not collectively lose their minds, they would definitely understand his malicious intentions. Do you know who you are talking to? A Carrie youth with a weak body, like a playboy, slowly stood up and spoke in an extremely cold tone. Other than the playboy who could not even beat a woman, there were 5 other Carrie people in the box. Among them, there were 3 beautiful Carrie women who were either maids or secretaries, and 2 Carrie soldiers who looked like bodyguards. With a simple glance, Rog knew that the 2 bodyguards had a military background. As for their strength? In a word, it was not worth mentioning. Of course, this, not worth mentioning, was judged by Rog's standards. If it was judged by other people's standards, these 2 bodyguards would definitely be the elites of the elites. They were not much worse than the vice leader of the Venus flytrap slavers, Noah. I really don't know who I am talking to, but I think that even if that person is not trash, he is still a useless piece of trash. Of course, he could also be a sissy, or a failed evolution product that had a misconception of his own gender. Since he had already started the provocation, he naturally had to provoke until the end. Just as a famous person said, since he wanted to pursue excitement, he had to go all the way. Although these were 2 completely different things, the underlying logic was the same. Number 6, Number 7, don't kill him so quickly. Give him some unforgettable punishment first, then bring him back to the Empire to play with him slowly. The Carrie youth, who did not want to reveal his name until now, said to the 2 bodyguards beside him in a high and mighty tone. He then sat back down on the sofa with his back facing Rog. The universe is really big, there are all kinds of birds. Traveling around the universe is indeed something that can broaden one's horizons. Looking at the Carrie youth, Rog said with a smile. At the same time, he helplessly shook his head. As soon as Rog finished speaking, the 2 bodyguards codenamed Number 6 and Number 7 came in front of him at the same time. However, the 2 bodyguards didn't have time to make a move. They were completely frozen by Rog, standing motionless like puppets. Sharingan, Golden Binding Genjutsu. At this time, the Carrie youth with his back facing Rog didn't know what happened. He was waiting for Rog to scream in pain. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. When the expected scream didn't sound, the high and mighty Carrie youth furrowed his brows with a gloomy expression. Chapter 353. Even if his reaction was slow, the arrogant Carrie youth realized that something was wrong. Number 6 and Number 7 definitely did not dare to disobey his orders. The Carrie youth was 100% sure of this point. Since there was no sound, it meant that Number 6 and Number 7 had completely lost their ability to move and even their lives when he was completely unaware of what had happened. Although the Carrie youth was arrogant, this did not mean that he did not have a brain. From a certain point of view, he could even be considered as a quick-witted person. However, Rog's golden binding illusion was something he had never seen or understood before. To this Carrie youth who acted like a playboy, Log's golden binding illusion was a form of dimensionality reduction without any suspense. Are you curious as to why your subordinates suddenly stopped making a move? If you want to know the answer, just turn around and take a look. In any case, you will soon get used to the feeling of constantly losing face. Just as the Carrie youth was thinking about whether to turn around and take a look, Rog's voice reached his ears. This guy was not an ordinary person who made people feel uncomfortable. From the moment Rog kicked open the door of the box, every word he said had a perfect provocation effect. This made the Carey youth, who was used to being high and mighty since childhood, realize for the first time what was called the dangers of society. Although he was 100 times unwilling, the Carey youth finally stood up and turned to face Rog. His two most loyal and reliable subordinates were now standing motionless in their original positions like statues. The Carey youth could not even determine whether number 6 and number 7 were still alive. Even he could not make an accurate judgment. His three maids of course could not tell. And because of his domineering style, without his permission, his maidservant didn't even have the courage to open her mouth. Sokka Planet is indeed a planet with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Tell me your name. You now have the qualifications to tell me your name. Although from the situation, the Carey youth had fallen into an extremely disadvantageous situation, he still did not have the intention to change his attitude. Whether it was Skull Crusher or number 6 and number 7, they were not his trump cards to be tyrannical. His true trump card was his identity, which represented nobility, power, and strength, as well as his uncle. Rothschild was the name of the Carey youth. There were many Kree with this name, and he was the most respected and prestigious of them all. Carey Empire, one of the 3 great empires in the universe. The Kree Empire was a military and technological dictatorship. Its current leader was a life computer that embodied the highest intelligence of the Kree people, the Supreme Intelligence. The Supreme Wisdom encompassed all of the Kree people's science, philosophy, military, and ideology, and ruled over everything in the Kree Empire. Even so, under the Supreme Intelligence, there was still a privileged class of Kree. And Rothschild was a typical example. Rothschild's father was a cabinet member of the Carey Empire. His mother was a major shareholder of the second largest bank in the Carey Empire. His parents' power and status allowed him to have a starting point that far surpassed others from the moment he was born. However, all of this was not the main reason for his current personality. What made him truly supercilious and cultivated his unscrupulous and domineering style was that he had a powerful uncle who doted on him very much. It was precisely because he had such a powerful uncle who was famous in the universe that he had become like this. In Rothschild's view, other than a very small number of Kree people, the majority of the Kree people were lowly slaves. As he grew older, his view was no longer limited to the Kree people, but extended to all races in the universe. Because of his uncle's status, he had number 6 and number 7, who were strong enough to be the bodyguards of the Carey Empire's high-ranking officers. Because of his uncle's reputation, most of the people in the universe were willing to give him face and tolerate his tyrannical behavior. Therefore, even when number 6 and number 7's status was unknown, and they had completely lost their ability to move, he still maintained his original arrogant attitude. So what if you can instantly take care of number 6 and number 7, as long as I say my uncle's name, you can only obediently apologize. Rog did not have any understanding of Rothschild, so he did not know where Rothschild's confidence came from. Of the 3 bodyguards, one was dead, and the other 2 had completely lost their ability to move. Although Rothschild still had 3 seductive maids, the experienced Rog could tell at a glance that these 3 charming maids were just playthings that Rothschild carried with him. The qualifications to say your name? I suddenly realized that you are very similar to a Kree I know. Although he was defeated by me when we first met, he also said something similar to you. Say your name. You have the qualifications for me to personally take action. His tone and attitude back then were exactly the same as yours now. They were equally arrogant and ignorant. The defeated opponent that Rog was referring to was, of course, accuser Ronan, who had been tortured to death by Tsukimi. Speaking of which, it was strange. Ever since he officially began his journey in the universe, accuser Ronan had appeared more and more often in his memories. It was like this when he was in the land of nothingness, and it was still the same when he came to planet Sokka. He couldn't help but wonder if some ill-fated intertwining of fate had occurred between him and Luo Nan. I'll give you one last chance. Say your name. Otherwise, you will understand how terrifying the supreme accuser of the Carey Empire, Ronan, is. Rothschild took a few deep breaths and suppressed the anger in his heart. He issued an ultimatum to Rog with a cold tone. Accuser Ronan? When Rothschild said the name of accuser Ronan that had just appeared in his memory, Rog was stunned. Could there really be some ill-fated relationship? Rog began to worry about his future. However, Rog's worry was completely different in Rothschild's understanding. Sure enough, as long as I say the name of Uncle Ronan, I can see the fear shown by these lowly existences. What's your relationship with accuser Ronan? Rog directly ignored the disdain on Rothschild's face and asked with a solemn expression. There's no harm in telling you. The supreme accuser of the Accuser Society, Ronan, is my uncle. I am the junior he cares about the most. Offending me is equivalent to offending the supreme accuser of the Carey Empire, Ronan. But I'm very satisfied with your fearful expression just now. If you can continue to satisfy me, it's not like I can't. Before Rothschild could finish his words, Rog passed number 6 and number 7 as if he had teleported. He arrived in front of Rothschild like a ghost and raised his right palm. Slap. The next second, a crisp slap rang out. The thin and weak Rothschild was sent flying by Rog's slap to the viewing glass behind him. He was like a fly that had been swatted away and stuck to the glass. Damn, you scared me to death. I thought that I really had some ill-fated relationship with Ronan. Rog let out a sigh of relief and sent Rothschild flying. A plan emerged in his mind. Chapter 354. When Rog let Luo Nan off the hook last time, he only planned to use Luo Nan to spread the fame of the 4th Hokage of Earth. So he didn't deliberately find trouble with Luo Nan or the Carey Empire after starting his journey in the universe. However, he didn't expect that instead of finding trouble with Luo Nan and the Carey Empire, Luo Nan's most important nephew took the initiative to find trouble with him. It was as if fate deliberately pushed Luo Nan in front of him, so that he had no choice but to continue the grudges between him and Luo Nan. When luck came, it couldn't be stopped. When Luo Nan came, he couldn't get rid of him. Since fate had arranged it like this, Rog could only accept it with a smile. Rothschild, who was slapped by Rog, was stuck on the cracked glass for a few seconds. Then he fell heavily to the ground under the influence of gravity. Until now, Rothschild still couldn't believe the fact that he was attacked. Moreover, the attack was in the form of a slap. Rothschild had slapped many people since he was born. But this was the first time in his life that he was slapped. Even his parents had never slapped him. Being slapped was miserable enough, but the slap that Rothschild received wasn't an ordinary slap. Although Rog didn't use his monstrous strength and didn't use his full strength, his slap was undoubtedly unbearable for Rothschild, who was thin and weak and had close to zero strength. Rothschild felt that the left side of his face was like being stabbed by a red-hot iron needle at a high frequency. The burning sensation was accompanied by a tingling sensation that made him tremble uncontrollably. Green blood flowed out of the corners of his mouth and nostrils. Not only that, Rothschild's left ear was buzzing, as if hundreds of thousands of bees were flying in his ear. As for the pain from hitting the glass, it wasn't particularly obvious at this time. Especially when compared to the tingling sensation on his left cheek, it seemed to be insignificant. Rothschild lay on the ground with a dull face. After a few minutes, he stood up again as if he had experienced the most painful experience in his life. He dared to look at Rog with anger but didn't dare to speak. This man really dared to kill him. Although Rothschild didn't have any combat experience, he didn't have the ability to sense killing intent. But there was one thing that he was certain of. That was when Rog slapped him in the face, he didn't care about his life or death at all. He also didn't care about his uncle, Luo Nan, who had accused him. Luo Nan, the accuser, knew his nephew's usual style when he was outside. Therefore, he had reminded him more than once that if he met someone who didn't care about his life or death, he mustn't provoke the other party in a situation where he wasn't certain of victory. It doesn't matter if you suffer for the time being, as long as you're still alive. Uncle will take care of the rest for you. Roskilde recalled accuser Luo Nan's instructions to him. Looking at your appearance, you shouldn't have been beaten into an idiot. So you should still remember how to contact Luo Nan. Go notify Luo Nan right now. Have him come to Sokka Planet to save you. Also, when you inform him, remember to tell him who you met. My name is Rog, 4th Hokage Rog. When Rog revealed his identity, the vigilance in Rothschild's eyes instantly turned into shock. He's Rog. He's actually the 4th Hokage Rog. The news of accuser Luo Nan losing to Rog wasn't widely spread, and the details of the battle weren't spread out. But Rothschild, as Luo Nan's most doted nephew, was one of the few people who knew the details of the battle. The moment he heard Rog's name, Rothschild finally understood why Rog didn't put him in his eyes from the beginning to the end, and why Rog didn't care about the fact that his uncle was accuser Luo Nan. I actually used my uncle Luo Nan to threaten Rog, who defeated my uncle. I'm really fucking smart. This wasn't a matter of losing face, this was purely a matter of having a brain problem. After knowing Rog's identity, Rothschild immediately made a decision. Admit defeat. Obediently admit defeat. Quickly admit defeat. I didn't expect you to be Mr. Rog. I heard your name from my uncle. I apologize for my previous arrogance and all my actions. As long as Mr. Rog opens his mouth, no matter what request you have, I'll do my best to fulfill it. I hope that Mr. Rog can give me, a junior who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, a chance to apologize on account of your acquaintance with my uncle. As soon as his voice fell, Rothschild bowed 90 degrees with a serious face. He didn't have the previous aloof attitude. Looking at Rothschild, who changed his face, Rog didn't say a word. Because he didn't speak, Rothschild didn't dare to raise his head. He silently maintained a 90-degree bow. Time passed by minute by minute. Rothschild felt that time had stopped at this time. It didn't flow forward at all. When Rothschild's legs and back trembled uncontrollably, Rog slowly opened his mouth and said, "For Luo Nan's sake, I'll give you a chance to explain. Get up." After getting Rog's answer, Rothschild straightened his waist with difficulty. Then, he carefully moved his trembling legs and waist. For the first time, Rothschild discovered that it was so difficult to maintain a 90-degree bow for a long time. He felt that his waist didn't belong to him anymore. I was fortunate enough to hear from my uncle about Mr. Rog's heroic appearance in battle. I know that you're a true warrior who constantly pursues strength. I'm ashamed to say that although my uncle personally guided and taught me how to fight, I'm still unable to become a hero like Mr. Rog. So I don't dare to guess what kind of way of apology you would like. I hope that you can give me some pointers and let me learn. It had to be said that although Rothschild wasn't a good person, he was indeed a smart person to a certain extent. After knowing that Rog was an existence that he couldn't afford to offend, he didn't hesitate as he was used to being aloof. He immediately lowered his posture and even directly put himself in the position of a junior. Although it was a bit intentional, he tried to put Rog on the moral high ground that an elder shouldn't argue with a junior. But in general, after understanding that he was in an absolute disadvantageous situation, he quickly made the most beneficial plan for himself and executed it perfectly. Dignity and face were put down without any hesitation. He deserved to be a guy born in a powerful family. He was born with the potential to become a politician. Rog found a few shining points on Rothschild. Chapter 355. Inform your uncle Luo Nan to come to Sokka Planet. Tell him that I want to compete with him again. After more than 10 seconds of silence, Rog spoke to Rothschild. Okay, no problem, I will help you pass on the message. After hearing Rog's words, Rothschild was stunned for a moment. He only replied after a few seconds. Although Rothschild didn't know why Rog wanted to compete with his uncle Luo Nan, since Rog said so, he could only agree. As for whether Luo Nan could defeat Rog, or what Rog wanted to gain through this competition, it was not within Rothschild's consideration. After telling Rog the hotel where he was currently staying and the contact information, Rothschild respectfully sent Rog away. Rog did not leave the Flying Thor technique on Rothschild, nor did he intend to leave a shadow clone or wood clone to watch over Rothschild. Although Rothschild was a little arrogant, he was a smart person. He knew very well what the consequences of secretly escaping would be. Because of this unexpected episode, Rog did not continue to stay and watch the gladiator fight. He returned to the hotel with Hulk and others. In the next few days, Hulk signed up for the gladiator fights every day, and he won again and again. Hulk's simple and violent fighting style was inexplicably in line with the preferences of the Sokka Planet audience. Therefore, Hulk had his own gladiator nickname, World Destroyer. Of course, there were also some audience members who felt that the title of World Destroyer was not domineering enough, so they called Hulk King Hulk. For these two new nicknames of Hulk, Rog's only feeling was that the magical fate had once again played a role. Whether it was World Destroyer Hulk, King Hulk, or Green Death who had not been born yet, they were actually another form of Hulk in other parallel universes. In the parallel universe, World Destroyer Hulk, also known as Green Death, was a combat master who could use cold weapons such as great swords, spears, and shields. He also had the wisdom and personality of Dr. Bruce Banner. He was an excellent leader and strategist. Although Hulk now had the title of World Destroyer, he was still very far away from the true World Destroyer Hulk, which was Green Death. It was not difficult for the current Hulk to use cold weapons such as great swords and spears. However, it is still impossible for him to have Dr. Banner's wisdom and personality at the same time. Although it was not a complete Green Death, Hulk still displayed unparalleled absolute dominance in the gladiator arena and quickly obtained the qualifications to participate in the individual battle. As long as Hulk could obtain no less than 10 consecutive victories in the individual battles, he would be able to participate in Sokka Planet's highest standard and also the most popular gladiator tournament, the Battle of Champions. When Hulk shone brightly in the arena, Rog and Blackie couldn't help but play a few rounds. Of course, in order to avoid being assigned to the same battle, they chose to participate at different times. While Rog, Hulk, and Blackie were having fun in the arena, Natasha and Scott were getting more and more depressed. Although the journey in the universe was very interesting, as ordinary Earthlings, Natasha and Scott still hoped to return to Earth as soon as possible. After all, only on Earth did they have a true sense of belonging. But judging from the current situation, Rog and Scott would not have any plans to return to Earth in a short time. Time passed day by day. When Rog and Blackie successfully obtained the qualifications to participate in the individual battle, Rothschild's uncle, Ronan, finally arrived at Sokka Planet on his own battleship, Dark Star. If it weren't for Rothschild being his favorite nephew, Ronan would never have come to Sokka Planet, let alone meet Rog. After the last battle, Ronan recuperated in the highest-level private hospital in the Kerry Empire for a whole month before he finally got rid of the after-effects brought by Tsukimi. Even if he had completely recovered now, Ronan still couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart when he thought of what happened in Tsukimi's world. Tsukimi, this was not a move that intelligent creatures could resist at all. At least in Ronan's memory, no one could completely ignore or directly get rid of Tsukimi's influence. And what made Ronan even more concerned was that even though he had personally experienced Tsukimi once, he still couldn't figure out how Tsukimi took effect. So when he received the news from Rothschild, he knew that his nephew, who had run amok, had inexplicably provoked Rog and made Rog have the idea of having a rematch with him. At that time, Ronan really had the urge to kill Rothschild completely. But this impulse was quickly suppressed by him. After all, Rothschild was his favorite nephew. Sokka City's Central City District, the main arena hotel, Blood Dusk, the top floor of the hotel's royal suite. Seeing your current healthy appearance, I'm very gratified. Rog sat on the sofa in the suite's living room, holding a glass of blue Sokka Planet specialty liquor, and said with a casual expression. The Kerry Empire's medical standards are much more advanced than Earth's, so recovering isn't difficult. The controller, Ronan, sat across from Rog. He sat upright and still, wearing the typical Kerry armor. The Kerry Empire's high-tech warhammer, known as the Omnipotent Weapon, was placed less than a meter away from him on his right. Your nephew should have already told you the general situation, so I won't be long-winded. My request is very simple. I want to have a personal battle with you in the gladiator arena. Regardless of the outcome, you can leave with your nephew. Of course, in order to make the battle fairer, I won't use Tsukimi to deal with you. You can rest assured. After taking a sip of the blue liquor in the glass, Rog continued. It's that simple? It wasn't that Ronan didn't believe in Rog's guarantee, but he couldn't understand why Rog had asked him to come all the way here just to have a fight with him in the gladiator arena. After knowing that Rothschild had provoked Rog, Ronan also learned everything from Rothschild. It was precisely because of this that he didn't believe that Rog would be so easy to talk to. Apart from Cronin, who was killed, and Rothschild being slapped, Rog basically didn't do anything. According to Ronan's conjecture, Rog shouldn't be so easy to talk to. It's that simple. After the fight, you can leave with your nephew. But speaking of which, I suddenly have a small question. I learned from Rothschild that although you and his father are brothers, your relationship hasn't been good since you were young. He likes to use wisdom to solve problems, so he embarked on the path of politics and finally became a member of the cabinet. As for you, you like to use force to solve problems, so you became a warrior and joined the controllers, who have military power. You were appointed as the Supreme Controller by the Supreme Wisdom. The relationship between the two of you isn't good, but you inexplicably dote on his son. I can't help but think of some bad things. And I heard that his mother met you first before she met his father. Originally, Roger didn't really want to know about this matter. But when he saw Luo Nan personally rush to Sokka Planet from far away, and when Luo Nan didn't hesitate to risk his life to exchange blows with him, his gossipy soul suddenly ignited. Chapter 356. This is my private matter. I refuse to answer. Luo Nan looked at Rog with an incredulous expression. He couldn't understand why Rog would suddenly ask such a question. And from his question, it was obvious that he had some guesses. As a warrior, and a warrior with such outstanding strength, it was completely unreasonable for him to have this kind of gossipy mentality. Since you don't want to say, then I won't ask. You can leave now. Right, remember to go to the arena to register for the participation. With your status, you should be able to directly qualify for the individual battle. After he finished speaking, Luo Good gestured to Luo Nan to walk slowly. Although Sokka Planet's arena had a rule that the free gladiators could only advance to the next level of the arena through continuous victories, there were always exceptions to everything. For an existence like the accuser Luo Nan, who had a great reputation in the universe, even if he wanted to participate, he wouldn't necessarily have to start from the lowest level of the melee. After all, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. For an existence like Luo Nan, participating in a low-level battle would only result in a one-sided slaughter without any suspense. For the viewing effect of the battle, the arena would certainly make an appropriate balance. If Rog had reported his name as the fourth Hokage when he registered, he would have had a great chance to directly qualify for the individual battle. When Luo Nan left the living room, he left the hotel with the guard waiting outside and the instigator of all this, Rothschild. Do you really want to fight with him again? Didn't you already win against him before? Natasha came to the living room and sat directly next to Rog. She asked doubtfully. Although I won against him last time, he underestimated me too much at that time, so the fight wasn't very satisfying. And I just happened to be learning some new moves recently. I want to try it out on him. Rog didn't say what move he was learning now. Even if he said it, Natasha might not understand. Well, when do you plan to return to Earth? After defeating the accuser Luo Nan, or after Hulk wins the championship battle and hangs his statue on Gao Tianzuan's champion building? Natasha continued to ask. We'll see how it goes. Don't worry, we won't be staying on Sokka Star for too long. No matter what, this is a trash planet. I'm not a weirdo like Gao Tianzuan. I don't plan to live here for a long time. He will definitely return to Earth. Not to mention that all of his subordinates and forces are on Earth, even if it's for the 300 ninja coins given by the system, he will definitely return to Earth. Ninja coins, he would never complain about having too little, just like no one would complain about having too much money. The news of the Kari Empire's famous accuser, Ronan, signing up for the gladiator fight quickly spread out, and it quickly caused a wave of excitement. Anyone who roamed the universe would have a certain understanding of the Kelly Empire. The Kari Empire's way of doing things was tyrannical and unyielding. Although they were one of the 3 great empires in the universe, the news that spread out was mostly bad. Accuser Luo Nan was the highest accuser of the Kree Empire's accuser group. His strength was outstanding and his fame was illustrious. His initiative to participate was not only a surprise to the audience on Sokka Planet, but it was also a pleasant surprise. There were even many audience members who speculated that the ruler of Sokka planet, Gao Tianzuan, would specially arrange a championship fight for Luo Nan. Indeed, Luo Nan had not participated in any gladiator fight, but his past record was enough to prove that he had the strength to participate in the championship fight. Although Luo Nan's registration set off a heated discussion among the audience, the ruler of Sokka planet, Gao Tianzuan, did not announce the championship fight for a long time. In the champion building next to the gladiator arena, Gao Tianzuan, with gray hair and a silver stripe from his lower lip to the center of his chin, sat on a huge high-back chair. He said to a sturdy female guard wearing armor beside him, "Recently, the strength of the free gladiators who participated in the gladiator fight is very good, especially the world destroyer, Hulk. I like him very much." "Understood, I'll arrange for people to catch him." Gao Tianzuan just finished speaking when the female guard with a serious expression said in a serious tone, "When did I say I want to catch Hulk? No, I don't want to catch Hulk. I want to arrange a perfect match for him. The accuser who just signed up today seems to be quite good." Gao Tianzuan, who was wearing a gorgeous golden coat, nodded as he spoke, as if to confirm whether his arrangement was correct. However, he soon overturned his plan. Luo Nan can't do it. His match with Hulk won't be very fair. This will disappoint the audience. Luo Nan is not suitable, and the other gladiators are not suitable either. Why don't I have a gladiator like Hulk in my hands? This is really sad news. Gao Tianzuan suddenly sighed bitterly when he said this. The tall female guard beside Gao Tianzuan was already used to Gao Tianzuan's muttering and sudden mood changes. By the way, Hulk's companions, the symbiotic demon named Blackie and the earthling named Rog, are not bad. Why don't we arrange for them to have a life and death battle with their companions? Friendship, bonds, companions with deep feelings, and a life and death battle for the glory of victory. The loser will lose his life, and the winner will live a miserable life in regret. This will be a battle that shakes the soul. Gao Tianzuan suddenly became excited when he thought of something. He stood up excitedly and waved his hands wildly. However, Gao Tianzuan's excitement only lasted for a few seconds before it disappeared. He sat back on the high-back chair with a dispirited look. No, it still won't do. This is not suitable for Hulk. Hulk, World Destroyer Hulk, King Hulk. Hulk with green skin, Gao Tianzuan began to talk to himself again. Then, his eyes lit up as he suddenly thought of something. Green-skinned, a man and a woman. One fights simply and violently, while the other has exquisite combat skills. One has amazing strength and endurance, while the other has a small and agile figure. It's her. That's right, it's her. The most dangerous woman in the universe against the craziest man in the universe. A top-level female assassin against a top-level male warrior. This is a fair match for Hulk. After excluding Luo Nan, Blackie, Rog, and the others, Gao Tianzuan finally arranged an opponent for Hulk in the next match. In his opinion, it was an opponent who was evenly matched and could make the gladiator fight the best. The survivor of the Zehu people, the most dangerous woman in the universe, the adopted daughter of the crazy Titan Thanos, Kimura Jean Huberly Ben Titan. Chapter 357. It's estimated that only someone like Gao Tianzuan would think that Kimura would be a match for Hulk. However, the female guard standing next to Gao Tianzuan, the sturdy Topaz, nodded in agreement. It's decided then. Topaz, you go to the underground prison and bring our charming and dangerous female assassin Kimura here. I want to see this legendary female assassin. While speaking, Gao Tianzuan rubbed his hands excitedly. A meaningful smile appeared on his face. If it was someone who didn't know Gao Tianzuan well enough, after seeing his appearance at this time, they would definitely treat him as a pervert with some kind of special fetish. At this time, Rog didn't know that Gao Tianzuan had already arranged Hulk's next opponent. When he learned that Luo Nan had signed up for the competition, he also signed up his name. As long as Hulk didn't sign up during this time, then Rog would be the only opponent that could match Luo Nan. Whether it was to give the audience a good viewing experience, or to make the competition more fair, the gladiator arena could only arrange the two of them together. As Rog expected, after he signed up his name, the Gladiator Arena quickly announced a specific Gladiator preview. The mysterious ninja Rog vs the Supreme Controller of the Keri Empire, Luo Nan. When the Gladiator preview was just released, the residents of the city didn't feel anything wrong. However, when Rog's name appeared together with Luo Nan, a piece of news that wasn't widely spread. The controller, Luo Nan, had once lost to the hands of the fourth Hokage, Luo Gu. After coming to Sokka Planet, although Rog didn't deliberately spread his name as the fourth Hokage, the residents of Sokka City were very gossipy and quickly dug out his identity, including the news that he once defeated Luo Nan, as well as his 9 consecutive victories in nothingness. After confirming that the ninja Rog who recently shone in the Gladiator Arena was the fourth Hokage who once defeated controller Luo Nan, the tickets for the Gladiator Night were quickly sold out, and the amount of bets on the Gladiator Night was getting higher and higher. As the time of the Gladiator fight got closer and closer, the matter of Rog's dispute with Rothschild on the top floor of the Gladiator Arena was also dug out by the curious audience. There were even many audience members who deduced the whole process of the matter. Keri Empire's Hegemon Rothschild, because he lost the bet, sent people to attack Hulk who had just come down. As Hulk's friend, Rog immediately took action, killing Rothschild's men, and broke into Rothschild's box. Roger taught Rothschild, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, a lesson in the VIP room. He also had Rothschild notify his uncle, Ronan. And so, Keri Empire's supreme controller Luo Nan rode his own warship, Dark Star, to planet Sokka. Although the audience members who were exploding with curiosity didn't dig out the situation of Rog and Luo Nan's meeting, they speculated that the two of them had clearly reached some kind of agreement after Luo Nan left the hotel and immediately signed up for the gladiator fight. That's why there was this gladiator fight that attracted so much attention. As more and more inside information was dug out, the audience's enthusiasm grew higher and higher. The individual battle between Rog and Luo Nan that hadn't started yet had a faint momentum of a championship battle. The fourth Hokage Rog's battle to make a name for himself. The controller Luo Nan's battle for revenge. A powerful ninja from the backward civilization of Earth against the supreme controller of the Keri Empire, one of the 3 great empires in the universe. All kinds of exaggerated gladiator fight titles were passed on one after another. The scalp tickets for the Gladiator Night also became hard to find, and the price was higher than the sky. Although the news was already in full swing outside, there were even many fanatical audience members who broke into the hotel where Rog was staying, Scarlet Dusk, trying to dig out more inside information from Rog before the gladiator fight. Rog didn't pay attention to what was happening outside. Right now, he was making the final preparations for the gladiator fight. When Rosewood contacted Luo Nan, he exchanged a taijutsu from the system that he should have exchanged a long time ago. Taijutsu, Hashimon Tanku. This was the ultimate taijutsu that Konoha's ninja Mado Dai spent 20 years to develop. By unlocking the chakra channel in the body, he could temporarily obtain a powerful strength. When the Hashimon Tanku is fully opened, he could instantly obtain 10 times the strength of the 5 Kages. The power of the Hashimon Tanku depends on the user's own strength. The stronger the user, the stronger the power obtained after opening the Hashimon Tanku. After opening the 8th gate of death, the user will die due to the exhaustion of his own vitality. Exchange price, 100 ninja coins. When he saw the exchange price, Rog was still a bit hesitant. But after seeing the specially marked sentence behind the exchange icon, he decisively chose to exchange without a trace of hesitation. Because the difficulty of training is too high, when you exchange for the Hashimon Tanku, you can also get the related moves and the training notes of Mado Dai and Mado Gai. Rog wasn't very interested in the training notes of Mado Dai and Mado Gai. What really moved him were the 6 moves that came with it. First gate of opening, Outer Lotus, 3rd gate of life, Inner Lotus, 6th gate of view, Morning Peacock, 7th gate of surprise, Day Tiger, 8th gate of death, Evening Statue, Night Guy. While waiting for Luo Nan's arrival and practicing in the gladiator arena, Rog had been practicing the Hashimon Tanku, and the progress was very amazing. Although it was only less than a week, he had successfully practiced the Hashimon Tanku to the 5th gate of limit, and he also faintly touched the opportunity to open the 6th gate of view. It was also because of this that he didn't leave the hotel even once after Luo Nan left. Even when he signed up for the gladiator arena, he asked Hulk for help. In the empty room, Rog, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, emitted a light blue chakra visible to the naked eye. Fortunately, Rog had experienced all kinds of extraordinary, overloaded, and exceeding physical training before, and he also had the body of immortal Hashirama that was more than half developed, so the abnormal physical requirements of the Hashimantanku weren't really a problem for him. If he was given enough time, such as 1 month or 2 months, he was 100% sure that he could completely master the Hashimantanku. But now, what he lacked the most was time. The time of the gladiator arena was set for tomorrow night. If he couldn't smoothly open the 6th gate of view before the gladiator arena, he could only use the power of the 5th gate of limit to deal with Luo Nan. Although opening the 5th gate of limit was enough to give him a terrifying increase in strength, no one would dislike their own strength for being too strong. More importantly, this time, he planned to use physical techniques to win against Luo Nan. Chapter 358. Saka City, Gladiator Arena. After a series of lively promotions, the battle between the 4th Hokage, Rog, and Ronin, the manipulator, began as scheduled. However, before they appeared on the stage, there would be a personal battle that served as an introductory match. It would hype up the already fanatical scene for the two of them. Rog sat in the lounge, wrapping the white bandage around his arm with great seriousness. Since he and Ronin were both free gladiators, they could use any equipment they chose in the arena. Of course, firearms and other hot weapons were absolutely prohibited. While Rog was wrapping the bandage around his arm, Ronin, who was in another lounge, was also wearing a custom-made armor with the help of a guard. Ronin, who had already fought with Rog once and was defeated, was fully prepared for this battle. In addition to the custom-made armor and the omnipotent weapon, Warhammer, Ronin also wore a helmet that he had never worn before. Although Rog had promised not to use Tsukuyomi, Ronin still had some worries in his heart. Tsukuyomi's terrifying power only needed to be experienced once, and it would leave an unforgettable memory. If it weren't for Ronin's strong will, he would even consider admitting defeat at this moment. The lounge wasn't far from the arena. Moreover, it was unknown if it was intentional, but the soundproofing function of the lounge wasn't perfect at all. It allowed the gladiators in the lounge to clearly hear the cheers of the audience. After the referee in the arena announced the outcome of the introductory match, Rog and Ronin left the lounge at almost the same time and walked towards their respective gladiator passageways. The exciting introductory match is finally over. I believe that many of the audience can't wait any longer. Because the next battle is the ultimate goal of your coming here tonight. Although all of you can't wait any longer, as the referee and commentator of this battle, I still want to introduce the next 2 gladiators to everyone. First of all, let us use the most enthusiastic cheers to welcome this legendary ninja from a backward planet. He is the most powerful ninja in the universe, the 4th Hokage, Ro. Gu. The red-skinned middle-aged referee with delicately combed hair roared loudly in an extremely exaggerated tone. As his voice rang out, colorful fireworks soared into the sky, exploding into gorgeous patterns in the air. Rog! 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 Under the cheers of more than 100,000 spectators, Rog walked out of the gladiator passage step by step and went straight to the center of the arena. Rog, who was wearing the 4th Hokage Haori, waved at the surrounding audience. He then adjusted his state of mind, allowing himself to enter his best battle state. At the same time, the referee and commentator who advocated the roaring style began to introduce Rog's battle record. Defeat Luo Nan, the controller who attempted to invade Earth. 9 consecutive victories in the Land of Nothingness, 5 consecutive victories in Saka Planet's arena. Many of the names of the opponents that Roger could not even remember were named by the referee one by one. Along with his introduction, the spectators in the arena became more and more fanatical. When Rog's short list of battle records was finished, the fully armed controller Luo Nan also came to the arena amidst the cheers of the spectators. He stood about 20 meters away from Rog. Compared to Rog's battle record, Luo Nan's battle record was clearly much better. Of course, this was also related to the fact that Rog had always been active on Earth and did not show his face in the universe. If his battle record on Earth was included, not only would his battle record not be less than Luo Nan's, it would even be richer. Luo Nan, who was holding the universal weapon, Warhammer, did not pay attention to the referee's introduction. His eyes were fixed on Rog as he spoke in a serious tone. Although I still don't understand why you insist on fighting me in the arena, I will let you know that your decision is very unwise. Is that so? I hope your next performance will prove your words. Luo Gu could see that Luo Nan had already roused himself to 120%. He was no longer the enemy who was filled with contempt and arrogance from before. This was an enemy who was completely serious. Very good. Very good. Only an enemy like this was worthy of him using the 8 inner hidden gates. When the referee's introduction was completely finished, the bell that represented the beginning of the battle rang. Rog and Luo Nan ran toward each other at the same time. 20 meters passed in the blink of an eye. The unarmed Rog and the warhammer-wielding Luo Nan were facing each other head-on. Body technique, monstrous strength. The physical fitness of the Kree people was much stronger than that of the people on Earth. This was especially true for Luo Nan, who was an outstanding member of the Kree people. His physical fitness was far superior to that of the ordinary Kree people. So when Rog arrived in front of Luo Nan, he did not hesitate and immediately used monstrous strength. His right fist, wrapped in light blue chakra, was like a cannonball that shot out of the barrel as it attacked Luo Nan's chest. The warhammer in Luo Nan's hand also smashed toward Rog's head with the force of 10,000 pounds. Because they had already fought once, Rog and Luo Nan had a rough understanding of each other's tactics. Facing Luo Nan's thunderous hammer, Rog did not have any thoughts of dodging. Although his right fist had not yet hit Luo Nan, he was 100% sure that Luo Nan's warhammer would not fall on his head. In a flash, Rog's right fist hit Luo Nan's chest first. Energy shield. Rog's right fist seemed to have hit Luo Nan's chest, but in fact, it only hit the thin layer of energy shield on Luo Nan's chest. Although the energy shield condensed in an instant could not completely block Rog's attack, it could buy a little bit of time. Luo Nan did not condense the energy shield at the beginning because he wanted to let Rog's attack hit him first. In terms of speed, Luo Nan was far from being Rog's opponent. So in order to let Rog obediently enter his attack range, Luo Nan did not hesitate to use himself as bait. The black energy shield instantly shattered and Rog's right fist finally hit Luo Nan's chest. But all of this was within Luo Nan's plan. With the energy shield and armor, Luo Nan smoothly took on Rog's monstrous strength fist. And the warhammer in his hand finally arrived above Rog's head. Although Luo Nan's warhammer was about to smash his head, Rog did not panic in the slightest. Although the warhammer's attack speed was fast, if he wanted to dodge, it would not be too difficult. As long as he was willing to use ninjutsu, he had several methods to instantly escape. But right now, he had no plans to use ninjutsu at all. Sometimes, physical techniques can also do things that ninjutsu can do. First gate, open. Open. The massive amount of chakra in Rog's body instantly erupted. The restriction set by the consciousness of his brain was instantly broken. Chapter 359. The body's self-restriction hidden in the depths of his consciousness disappeared. Rog felt a mystical feeling of his entire body coming alive. Every living being's body contained an unimaginable amount of power. However, for the sake of a better life, this power was deeply sealed away by the instinctive self-protection consciousness. This seal was both a type of protection and a type of restriction. In many urban legends, there were cases of ordinary people instantly erupting with extraordinary strength. For example, in order to save his grandson from being crushed under a heavy truck, there was an old man who lifted a truck weighing dozens of tons with his bare hands. For example, in order to catch his daughter falling from a tall building, there was a father who ran over 100 meters in a few seconds. These cases seemed to be fantastical, but they were all real-life cases. To explain it in more scientific terms, the people involved in these cases were all super living beings who instantly activated a limiter. A limiter was an innate limit to the growth of every living being. In order to allow life to grow without losing its self-consciousness and rationality, life had set a limit for itself, which meant that it had set a limit for itself. However, the limit brought by this limiter wasn't indestructible. With enough emotional support and extreme external stimulation, this limiter could be opened artificially. The only thing to note was that if one didn't have a strong enough body to support it, once the limiter was opened, it would mean the arrival of death. In a sense, the 8 inner hidden gates was a way to open a limiter. However, compared to other methods, the 8 inner hidden gates was a bit more gentle. Only when all 8 gates were opened would it directly endanger the user's life. When Rog used a massive amount of chakra to break through the limiter set by his mind, he obtained full control of his body for the first time. Rog's body suddenly erupted with a strange phenomenon, immediately attracting Luo Nan's attention. However, the current him was already too late to do anything to stop or resist. The warhammer fell like lightning, but it directly missed. Rog, who was close at hand, fell down in a way that didn't conform to common sense. His right leg kicked towards Luo Nan's chin. Shadow dancing leaf. Luo Nan, who didn't have time to retract his warhammer, was kicked in the chin by Rog's 42-yard-long leg. The enormous force directly sent him flying. Luo Nan never thought that his first exchange with Rog would end up like this. Although Luo Nan felt a burst of pain from Rog's kick to his chin, he didn't take this pain to heart. This was definitely not Rog's ultimate move. He would never choose such an ordinary move to end his attack. Luo Nan, who had already suffered a loss once, didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. His body hadn't yet fallen under the influence of gravity, but he had already begun to search everywhere for traces of Rog. "Are you looking for me?" Just when Luo Nan was planning to turn his head to look for Rog's tracks, Rog's voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Not good. Although Luo Nan didn't know what Rog wanted to do, he was certain that Rog was going to be in great danger. Luo Nan suddenly gripped his warhammer with both hands, attempting to cover himself with an energy shield. However, it was all too late. When Rog arrived behind Luo Nan, the white bandages wrapped around his hands began to flutter under the control of chakra. In the blink of an eye, the fluttering white bandages were like 2 white pythons that wrapped around Luo Nan's body. "First, open the door, lotus flower." Rog's voice once again rang out from behind Luo Nan. At the same time, chakra gushed out from Rog's body, constantly disrupting the energy bursting out from the warhammer. Since he had already unleashed his move to this stage, Rog wouldn't let the energy shield created by the warhammer ruin his good deed. The more than 100,000 spectators in the spectator stands were puzzled as they watched the scene in the sky above the arena. Due to the difference in strength, not many spectators were able to clearly see the situation of Rog and Luo Nan's exchange. In the eyes of the majority of the spectators, they only saw Rog kick Luo Nan flying. Then he used bandages to bind Luo Nan. Finally, he hugged Luo Nan, who had lost all ability to resist like a mummy, and madly spun Luo Nan's head downwards. Was this an offensive move from the backward civilization of Earth? It looked a bit shameful. No matter which planet it was, an adult male creature hugging another adult male creature in public was not a mainstream culture. Simply put, it was a bit of an eyesore. However, the spectators in the audience seats quickly understood why Rog did this. The madly spinning Rog and Luo Nan only stayed in the air for a short 1 or 2 seconds. Then, in a suicidal manner, they fiercely crashed into the ground of the arena. Boom! Unlike the metal walls surrounding the arena, the ground of the arena was a very ordinary dirt floor. However, when the lotus flower crashed into the ground, a sound that was even more terrifying than the metal floor exploded out from the impact. If it wasn't for the fact that firearms and artillery shells were prohibited in the arena, the spectators in the arena would have suspected that a large bomb had exploded in front of them. The terrifying impact of the lotus flower formed a deep circular pit with a diameter of more than 10 meters in the arena. Cracks that were more than 10 to 20 centimeters thick appeared on the originally flat ground. They covered the entire arena like a spider web. The invisible shockwave hit the metal walls around the arena like a wave. The grayish-yellow dust and gravel danced in the air, completely covering the entire arena. After the terrifying impact, there was a dead silence. The more than 100,000 spectators in the audience seats seemed to have been pressed on the mute button at the same time. They looked at the arena in disbelief. They looked at the arena that was completely covered in dust. Was this the ninja's way of attacking? This was too. Although there were many gladiators who could create such a commotion in the arena, there was no one who could perform such a suicidal attack at the beginning of the battle like Rog. Luo Nan crashed into the ground with his head down like a tornado. Just thinking about this kind of attack in one's mind was enough to make people gasp. Although these spectators didn't know what Rog's move was called, they knew that from now on, they had completely fallen in love with this violent and bloody move. This was the scene that a gladiator should have. This was the momentum that a gladiator should have. This was a life and death battle that could make people's blood boil. Ah! Beautifully done. Rog. 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 The dust in the arena hadn't dispersed yet. The figures of Rog and Luo Nan hadn't appeared yet, but the enthusiasm of the spectators had completely exploded. Hashiman Tonku, First Gate, Lotus Flower, made its debut in the arena of Sokka Planet. Chapter 360. Not to mention the audience, even Rog himself had completely underestimated the power of the Outer Lotus. The Outer Lotus wasn't a particularly difficult move. Aside from the extremely high requirements for physical fitness, everything else was the same as an ordinary move. It was a move that could be perfectly imitated with a single glance from the Sharingan. However, such a move that didn't seem to have much technical content displayed a power that didn't lose to an attack-type ninjutsu. In some aspects, it was even stronger than a conventional attack-type ninjutsu. Hashiman Tonku is simply a divine technique tailor-made for ninjas like Kai Huang and Little Li. After fiercely greeting Luo Nan with the first Outer Lotus, Rog didn't immediately carry out the second wave of attacks. Instead, he patiently waited for the dust to disperse. Although the power of the Outer Lotus wasn't weak at all, it was still too naive to think that it could defeat Luo Nan. Moreover, after this exchange, Rog once again confirmed a fact that he had known for a long time. Most alien races had physiques that were far superior to the people of Earth. Even the Kree, a race that wasn't famous for their physiques, was the same. With the passage of time, the dust that covered the entire arena began to dissipate. Luo Nan's figure once again appeared in the audience's line of sight. Luo Nan was completely different from when he first appeared. It was as if he was a completely different person. Although his warhammer and armor were still there, and his body was still intact. But just by looking at his current appearance, one could tell how terrifying the Outer Lotus was. The specially prepared helmet was shattered into pieces. Cracks visible to the naked eye appeared on the sturdy armor after receiving the Outer Lotus and the Outer Lotus. Green blood flowed out from the corner of Luo Nan's mouth. The all-purpose warhammer was powerlessly held in his hand. If it wasn't for the armor and his superior physique that far surpassed that of ordinary Kree, Luo Nan would have been taken away by Rog's Outer Lotus. But even so, Luo Nan couldn't avoid the headache, nausea, dizziness, tinnitus, and other symptoms of a concussion. After personally experiencing the power of the Outer Lotus, Luo Nan finally understood why Rog wanted to fight with him again. To train the opponent, or in other words, test the target. The surrounding audience might not be able to see it, but Luo Nan, as the chief experiencer of the surface lotus flower, sensed the unfamiliarity of Rog's use of the surface lotus flower. This negligible unfamiliarity didn't affect the might of the lotus flower, but it allowed Luo Nan to understand Rog's true intentions. When Luo Nan was sent flying by Rog's shadow dancing leaf, he was still wondering why Rog didn't use ninjutsu. Now he knew the answer. Luo Nan did his best to calm his somewhat chaotic breathing and the various sensations of pain that came from his body. He walked out of this 1-meter deep crater. No wonder you said that you definitely wouldn't use Tsukumi this time. So you had already planned all of this. There wasn't any anger in Luo Nan's tone. Though being treated as a test subject made him very unhappy, in the end, this was the problem of the difference in strength. If he was in Rog's position, he would do the same thing. Testing power in actual combat wasn't only done when testing weapons. It was also done when testing new moves. Especially those who had absolute confidence in their own strength. The more likely they were to do this. Your observational skills are pretty good. You understood faster than I expected. While speaking, Rog took off the remaining bandages wrapped around his hand and casually threw them to the side. These bandages were only useful when using the surface lotus flower. The remaining moves didn't need the bandages. What's the name of your fighting technique? This kind of powerful fighting technique should have a name worthy of its power. Hashiman Tanku. Compared to fighting techniques, ninjas prefer to call this attack method taijutsu. Rog directly told Luo Nan the name of the Hashiman Tanku. Oh right, the move I used to hit you just now is called Surface Lotus Flower. It's the move after opening the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku. Out of respect for the test subject, Rog also told Luo Nan the name of the Surface Lotus Flower. The first gate of the Hashiman Tanku? Although Luo Nan didn't know what the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku was, he didn't know what kind of effect the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku would bring. But as long as he thought about the name of the Hashiman Tanku, he could roughly speculate some things. Just opening the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku already had this kind of power. If the remaining 7 gates were opened, then this Hashiman Tanku, Luo Nan didn't dare to imagine the beautiful scene after all 8 gates of the Hashiman Tanku were opened. Don't worry. I just learned the Hashiman Tanku not long ago, so I haven't completely mastered it. You don't have to worry about what will happen after all 8 gates are opened. Looking at the ugly expression on Luo Nan's face, Rog accurately guessed his worries. Your Hashiman Tanku may be strong, but you won't be able to maintain it for long. I can sense that your physical strength is being consumed at a crazy rate. Luo Nan raised the warhammer in his hand and pointed it straight at Rog. Your observational skills are indeed worthy of praise. However, you've overlooked 2 things. At this time, Rog was like a teacher earnestly instructing a student. He silently extended 2 fingers and spoke neither fast nor slow. First, after opening the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku, my physical strength is indeed being consumed at a rapid rate. However, this kind of consumption won't have any effect on me for a short period of time. Rog didn't cultivate the immortal body for nothing. The immortal body didn't just bestow upon him a terrifying amount of chakra. The immortal body was a powerful special physique. How could it be lacking in the basic attributes of strength, speed, endurance, and so on? These basic attributes weren't the focus of the immortal body's enhancement, but this didn't mean that the immortal body didn't have this aspect of enhancement. Second, the second gate of the Hashiman Tanku, the gate of healing, can perfectly solve the situation of rapidly consuming physical strength. For example, like this. As soon as his voice fell, the aura on Rog's body changed once again. Second gate, gate of healing, open. It was different from the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku. The second gate of the Hashiman Tanku removed the limitations of the body's physical strength. Opening the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku was to overload the body's energy at the cost of obtaining an increase in strength and speed. But opening the second gate of the Hashiman Tanku was to overload the body's energy to restore physical strength, offsetting the exhaustion brought about by the energy consumption of the first gate of the Hashiman Tanku. In other words, after opening the second gate of the Hashiman Tanku, Rog was not only faster and stronger, but he could also last longer. A real man would never have a time limit of 5 seconds. This is the power of the second gate of the Hashiman Tanku. Can you feel it? Chapter 361. Looking at the playful expression on Rog's face, Luo Nan silently clenched the warhammer in his hand. His mood suddenly sank to the bottom. He originally planned to drag the fight into a long war of attrition, using time to wear down Rog's 8 inner hidden gates. But he never thought that the second gate of the 8 inner hidden gates, the gate of healing, would cause his plan to fail completely before it could be implemented. After returning to the Empire, he needed to have a good talk with Rothschild. Luo Nan silently made a decision in his heart. The universe was so big, no one knew how many powerful existences were hidden in the universe. If it was within the Carey Empire's control, then it would be fine. But Rothschild was someone who couldn't stay idle. With his style of doing things, if he continued to be arrogant and despotic, then sooner or later he would provoke a powerful existence that he couldn't afford to provoke. Luo Nan spoiled Rothschild, so he hoped that Rothschild could live on safely and not die on some planet at such a young age. After the fight, this planet Earth will become famous in the universe. Of course, you will be the same. Luo Nan said to Rog in an incomparably serious manner as he threw all thoughts that had nothing to do with the fight to the back of his mind. Although Earth's technology wasn't very advanced, as long as Earth had an existence like Rog, then Earth's status in the universe wouldn't be low. Powerful existences could not only establish their own prestige in the universe, but they could also make their planet famous. No matter how backward the planet was, as long as there was a powerful existence on the planet, then the planet would become a high-level civilization in the universe. Although this didn't seem scientific, in the universe where strength was paramount, this was a rule that had been passed down for countless years. Although this will make me feel like I'm stepping on you, but to be honest, I'm looking forward to that scene. Don't worry, I won't kill you since you're doing your best to cooperate with me to test the 8 inner hidden gates. As soon as his voice fell, Rog disappeared. Although opening the second gate of healing could offset the exhaustion brought by opening the first gate. But there was always a time limit. The current Rog was overloading his body's energy. The instant Rog's figure disappeared, Luo Nan didn't hesitate at all. He immediately urged his warhammer to construct one energy shield after another around himself. Luo Nan's choice seemed a bit cowardly, but this was already the best choice he could make. Whether it was strength or speed, he was far inferior to Rog, who had opened the 8 inner hidden gates. If it weren't for the fact that he was still holding the useless weapon in his hand, he would have already admitted defeat. Pitch-black energy shields of various sizes continuously appeared all around Luo Nan. Soon after, they shattered like glass. Luo Nan was like a target right now, receiving attacks from all directions. After Rog opened the first door, the audience could no longer see him with their naked eyes. When he opened the second gate of healing, it was as if he had completely disappeared in the eyes of the audience. The pitch-black energy shields shattered one after another, and sonic booms rang out in the arena one after another. Although Rog's figure could not be seen at all, the audience's frenzied cheers did not weaken at all. Instead, they became more and more intense with the sound of the sonic boom. The third door, Life Gate, open. After crazily attacking Luo Nan like a Gatling gun for more than 10 seconds, Rog opened the final safe zone of the 8 inner hidden gates, the third gate. With the opening of the third gate of life, Rog's figure once again appeared in front of the audience. Although Luo Nan and the audience didn't know the effects of the third gate of life, the same thought appeared in their minds when they saw Rog's body turn completely red and emit green chakra. Rog had been strengthened once again. The opening of the third gate of life meant that Rog had met the minimum requirement to use the inner lotus. However, since he had already opened the third gate of life, he had no intention of using the inner lotus for the time being. The third gate of life was only the bottom line for Lian Hua to use. It did not necessarily have to be used at the third gate of life. What the third gate of life could fulfill, the fifth gate of limit could also fulfill, or even better. The fifth gate, Stop Gate, open. A few seconds after the third gate of life was opened, Rog took the opportunity to open the fifth gate of limit. Ah! An unimaginable amount of chakra gushed out from Rog's body. It was like a surging river after a dam burst, flowing through the chakra meridians in his body. If it wasn't for the immortal body that he inherited from Hashirama and the immortal body's development to a certain degree, the opening of the fifth gate of limit would have been enough to leave an invisible injury in Rog's body. Accuser Luo Nan, don't let me down. This was the first time Rog had opened the fifth gate of limit, so he wasn't too sure what kind of attack power he could unleash at this time. Although he had just said that he wouldn't kill Luo Nan, he couldn't be blamed if Luo Nan failed to live up to his expectations. Unlike the opening of the previous gates, Rog didn't dare to waste any time after opening the fifth gate of limit. He immediately attacked Luo Nan. Luo Nan could feel the changes in Rog and knew that his next attack would be even more terrifying than before. But he still could only stand in place and wait for Rog to take the initiative to attack. After Rog opened the second gate of healing, Luo Nan was unable to keep up with Rog's speed. And Rog, who had opened the fifth gate of limit, seemed to have disappeared into thin air from Luo Nan's perception. Right now, Luo Nan could only barely determine Rog's attack trajectory based on the ground that was stirred up by Rog's movements. There's only one chance. Steady. Don't panic. Don't panic by any means. Luo Nan, who had extremely rich combat experience, was like a new recruit that had just stepped onto the battlefield. He silently reminded himself in his heart. Although Luo Nan had already fallen into an absolutely disadvantageous situation, he still had a sliver of a chance to resist. A final chance to resist. Time Shift Domain. This was the most powerful killing move of the omnipotent Warhammer. It was also Luo Nan's only trump card. Speaking of which, it was quite ironic. Time Shift Domain was clearly a powerful killing move. But in front of Rog, this incomparably powerful killing move was reduced to a defensive skill every single time. It was like this before on the Kree warship, and now it was like this in the arena. Although this was only his second time fighting with Rog, Luo Nan discovered that he actually didn't have the upper hand even once. To the famous Supreme Manipulator, this was undoubtedly a sad piece of news. Luo Nan used Time Shift Domain as his final trump card. Of course, Rog was also on guard against this trump card of his. Having already experienced Time Shift Domain once, how could he possibly forget this trump card of Luo Nan's? The fifth gate of limit, Lotus Flower. After moving to the direction of his chosen attack, Rog used this ultimate body technique that he should have used at the third gate of life. Chapter 362. Gladiator Camp, Training Field. You need to be careful of attacks from behind and blind spots. Your body is your strength, but it is also your weakness. You need to remember this point. In this training field that was not much smaller than the gladiator arena, Rog was in the middle of giving Hulk a temporary special training. 3 days had already passed since his fight with Luo Nan. The result of the fight was easy to see. He won. Luo Nan wasn't able to block the lotus flower of his fifth gate, the gate of limit. Luo Nan ended the fight in a heavily injured state. Luo Nan didn't even have the time to use the Time Shift Domain under the terrifying amplification of the fifth gate, the gate of limit. Rog's lotus flower struck Luo Nan squarely in the chest. Then Luo Nan directly smashed through the metal wall of the gladiator arena, leaving the arena in defeat. Rog silently withdrew a bit of his strength the instant lotus flower struck Luo Nan's chest. He didn't let Luo Nan bear the full might of the lotus flower. The next morning, Luo Nan was taken away by Rothschild after finishing his emergency treatment. They took the Dark Star and left Sokka Planet. Luo Nan's departure didn't attract too much attention. Or it could be said that the residents of Sokka City didn't care about the whereabouts of the loser. And at noon on the same day, the residents of Sokka City received another piece of news that was enough to make them excited. The recently famous Destroyer of the World, Hulk, was going to fight against the top assassin with the title of the most dangerous woman in the universe, Gamora. And the time of the fight was tonight. This was also the reason why Rog was in the Gladiator Camp's training field today to give Hulk special training. On the surface, the difference in strength between Gamora and Hulk was like a heavenly moat. It was impossible for Gamora to be Hulk's opponent. But the problem was that Gamora wasn't a warrior like Hulk or Luo Nan. She was an assassin. A top-notch assassin with exquisite killing techniques and incomparably rich experience. Before Gamora obtained the title of the most dangerous woman in the universe, many people looked down on her. Even the targets of her assassination didn't take her assassination to heart. However, when Gamora officially started her career as an assassin, going around the universe to assassinate targets, people's evaluation of her became higher and higher. According to the latest news that Rog had received, since his debut, anyone who had been targeted by Gamora for assassination had all died without exception. Although Gamora's assassination method was different from what most people imagined, it was undeniable that her assassination success rate was 100% so far. In this aspect, Gamora was very similar to Rog. Both of them maintained a 100% success rate in their careers. However, one of them was an assassin, while the other was a ninja. In order to avoid Hulk's sudden failure, Rog had to let Hulk understand the fighting style of assassins and ninjas, which was completely different from that of warriors. Hulk is very strong. Hulk is not afraid of these attacks. Hulk, who was hit by Rog's blind spots one after another, did not take these attacks to heart. From his point of view, these attacks were no different from scratching an itch. However, this was exactly what Rog was worried about. Hulk was used to fighting head-on. Even if he encountered some blind assassins, his super physique would ensure that he would not be fatally injured. If it was a head-on battlefield, Hulk's approach would have no problem. But the problem was that the Colosseum was not a head-on battlefield, and Gamora was not a serious warrior. If it wasn't for the prohibition of firearms and other hot weapons in the Colosseum, as well as inhumane poison gas and biochemical attacks, Rog was even certain that Gamora would have set up all kinds of deadly traps in the Colosseum. No, you should be afraid of these attacks. No matter how strong your body is, there are still many weak spots. For example, these places. As soon as he finished speaking, Roger circled behind Hulk and launched a combo attack on his ears and eyes while Hulk couldn't see him at all. Rog didn't intend to completely blind or deafen Hulk, but even so, when he changed the attacking parts to the eyes and ears, Hulk still felt what is called the natural weakness of creatures. If it weren't for taking care of Hulk's dignity, Rog wouldn't even mind letting him experience Konoha's secret taijutsu, Millennium Kill. It hurts. You hurt Hulk. He didn't know why, when Hulk, who was more than 2 meters tall and strong, suddenly said this sentence, Rog felt that the style seemed to have become a bit wrong. Odama Rasengan. 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 In order to make this seemingly deviated style return to normal, Rog's right hand condensed an Odama Rasengan with a diameter of 1 meter, and hit it hard on Hulk's thick and broad back. Boom! Hulk, who was rubbing his ears, had no time to make any defense. His whole body flew out like a baseball hit, and then fell heavily to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. If you don't get serious, you won't be able to eat anything from now until the start of the gladiator fight. To deal with Hulk, who was similar to a naughty child, sometimes it was necessary to use some seemingly childish behavior. After being warned by Rog, Hulk reluctantly got up from the ground and continued the special training tailored for him by Rog. Time passed little by little, and when night began to fall, Hulk finally ended this special training that was completely out of his fighting style. He enjoyed a super large dinner that was heavier than Rog's weight. Ladies and gentlemen from different planets, I'm your most familiar old friend, Joe. Yes, tonight's high-profile individual battle will still be me as the commentator and referee. Now, let me see your excited hands. It was the middle-aged man who was responsible for commentating Rog and Ronan. But this time, the audience at the scene was not willing to cooperate with him. After a somewhat awkward silence, the exaggerated Joey began to introduce the 2 gladiators in tonight's individual battle. Hulk was the first one to appear. When he arrived at the gladiator arena wearing a pair of elastic special shorts with a look of excitement, the originally dull gladiator arena instantly erupted into cheers. There was no need for Joey to introduce Hulk's battle record. Every audience knew it in their hearts. He was different from Luo Nan, the controller, who had already made a name for himself. Hulk only gradually made a name for himself after arriving on Sokka Planet. In other words, Hulk walked step by step under the gaze of the audience. After Hulk appeared on the stage, it was naturally the turn of his opponent tonight, Gamora. However, when Gamora, who was wearing a slim leather jacket, walked out of the gladiator tunnel, there was a burst of curses and boos in the arena. At this time, Rog still booked a VIP box on the top floor of the arena. Unlike the crazy curses and boos of the audience, when Gamora walked out of the tunnel, Rog's face showed an incomparably serious expression. The most dangerous woman in the universe, the top assassin, the cold-blooded butcher, the lackey of Thanos Overlord, the inhumane Zehu Bailey, Gamora had a lot of unpleasant nicknames, but what really made Rog care was not these nicknames, but her status. In other words, her position in Thanos Overlord's heart. Chapter 363. On the surface, Gamora is just one of Thanos' adopted daughters, and she is his top assassin. This is the view of many people, and the other forces in the universe basically only know this. But Rog is different. He is a traveler, and he knows a lot of things that others don't know. Perhaps even Gamora herself doesn't realize how important she is in Thanos' heart. Soul Gem, one of the 6 Infinity Stones, is the only Infinity Stone that needs to be obtained by sacrificing the soul of a loved one. Rog has always known where the Soul Gem is, but he has never thought about the soul gem. The reason is simple: he doesn't have a true love at all. And even if he has a so-called true love, he will never sacrifice the soul of his loved one to get the soul gem. Thanos can get the soul gem by sacrificing Gamora, which is enough to prove Gamora's position in Thanos' heart. In addition, Rog also remembered a particularly small detail, a small detail that even Gamora herself didn't notice. Gamora hates Thanos' flagship spaceship Temple 2 and everything on it. Especially in the second temple, the chair that represented the supreme power of Thanos. Thanos has always hoped that Gamora can inherit his position, and that Gamora can sit on this chair that represents power and status after himself. However, after Gamora expressed her refusal, Thanos did not force her once. Because Gamora doesn't like that chair, in front of Gamora, Thanos would rather sit on the stairs under the chair than make Gamora unhappy. Although this seemed a bit outrageous, Thanos' overlord really did it, and he did it very casually. Gamora may not be willing to admit that Thanos is her father, but Thanos really treats her as his own daughter. Compared with Nebula, who is also an adopted daughter, it can be seen how much Thanos favors Gamora. This is also the reason why Nebula has been hostile or jealous of Gamora before she completely woke up. Get your equipment ready, it may not be peaceful tonight. Rog, sitting on the sofa, silently reminded Natasha, Ant-Man Scott, and others. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Natasha asked doubtfully. I don't know for the time being, but there's no harm in getting ready first. Although Rog doesn't know how Gamora fell into the hands of Gao Tianzuan, his intuition tells him that Thanos will never let his beloved adopted daughter become a slave gladiator for Gao Tianzuan and the residents of Sokka Star. And as time passes, this feeling becomes more and more obvious. He even suspects that Thanos' men, or Thanos himself, are hidden in the audience below. Okay. Looking at Rog with a serious look on's face. The wine-red-haired Gamora arrived at the center of the arena amidst the boos and curses of the audience. She sized up her opponent for the night. Like Hulk's, Gamora's skins. But Hulk's SSSSS. SSSSSSSSSS. And because his opponent was Gamora, Hulk didn't plan to use any weapons in this battle. Hulk stood barehanded about 20 meters away from Gamora, his face serious as he looked at Gamora, whose waist was even smaller than his arms. Although he had been forced to undergo special training by Rog, Hulk still did not feel that Gamora could pose any threat to him. I can kill an opponent with such thin arms and legs with one punch. Hulk silently made a judgment in his heart. Although he thought so, Hulk did not intend to kill Gamora. Women would always receive some preferential treatment, especially beautiful women with curvy figures. In Hulk's opinion, Gamora, with her green skin and wine-red hair, was much more beautiful than the women on Earth. Gamora's green skin just happened to hit Hulk's aesthetic point. Hulk didn't know why, but after seeing Gamora, he suddenly thought of what Rog and Natasha had told him, the so-called gentlemanly demeanor. Hulk likes you. Hulk doesn't want to hurt you. Just admit defeat. After a few seconds of silence, Hulk suddenly said. You, like me? Hulk's sudden words made Gamora a little stunned. As a top assassin, and a female assassin, Gamora was very good at using her feminine advantages. She also knew what kind of charm she had. Gamora had heard a lot of disgusting or strange confessions, many of which she had heard from her assassination targets. But after hearing Hulk's words, especially after seeing Hulk's sincere expression without any lust, a strange feeling welled up in Gamora's heart. This big guy's mind is still underage, right? The audience in the auditorium originally thought that they would see a bloody battle tonight, but the development of things completely exceeded their expectations. Although they couldn't hear the conversation between Hulk and Gamora, they could see that Hulk had no intention to fight at all. Not only were the audience in the auditorium puzzled, but even Gao Tianzuan, who was sitting in his exclusive box, was also puzzled. This is not right, this is not the script's arrangement. Gao Tianzuan single-handedly planned tonight's battle script, but he now found that the plot he planned was already showing signs of collapse before it even began. No, it can't go on like this. The arena of Sokka Planet absolutely won't allow such a boring plot to play out. Gao Tianzuan waved his hand at the female guard Topaz next to him, wanting to take the scepter in Topaz's hand that looked like a candied hawthorn. The ruler of Sokka Planet, Gao Tianzuan, was going to take action himself. However, before Gao Tianzuan could take the unconventional scepter, a giant castle-like spaceship flew over the arena, covering the night sky like a black cloud. Sanctum Number 2, this was Thanos Lord's flagship, Sanctum Number 2. It really appeared. Looking up at Sanctum Number 2 that covered the night sky, a smile appeared on Rog's face. Since Sanctum No. 2 was here, it was impossible for Thanos Lord, who was known as the Mad Titan, to be absent. Sure enough, when Sanctum Number 2, which was far larger than other spaceships, arrived above the arena, a bright white transmission beam shot out from the bottom of Sanctum Number 2, like a bridge of light descending from the sky to the middle of the arena. With the descent of the transmission beam, a huge figure more than 2 meters tall slowly walked out of the light beam. It was a simple yet intimidating set of armor that was blue and gold in color. The 2-meter-long double-edged broadsword still had lines of blood that had yet to solidify flowing down the broadsword. Purple skin, a round bald head, a giant vertical chin, a robust body, and an innate domineering aura. This was Thanos Lord, the Mad Titan Thanos Lord, the Thanos Lord known as the Emperor of the Universe. Thanos Lord had appeared in person. Chapter 364. For others, intervening in the battle before the outcome of the battle has been decided is a direct slap to the face of the ruler of Sokka Planet, Gao Tianzuan. But for Thanos Overlord, this slap is a slap in the face, there is no need to worry about it. Gao Tianzuan has an almost infinite lifespan, it is said that he also has a variety of powerful abilities, and is a member of the Universe Elders Council. Although not many people have seen Gao Tianzuan in action, from the fact that he built Sokka Planet and turned it into a gladiator planet that is not controlled by any civilization, one can know that he is more unfathomable than he looks on the surface. A person without much strength can't become the ruler of Sokka Planet, let alone build his own private kingdom here. Normal people wouldn't slap Gao Tianzuan's face in Sokka Planet, especially in the arena where more than 100,000 spectators gathered. But Thanos Overlord is not a normal person. If Thanos Overlord was a normal person, he wouldn't have come up with a crazy plan to destroy half of the life in the universe and carry it out. Natasha, if a fight breaks out later, the 3 of you go back to the hotel directly, I will take Hulk back. Since Thanos Overlord entered the arena, Rog's eyes have been focused on Thanos Overlord, and at the same time, he used chakra perception to perceive Thanos Overlord's situation. As he expected, he felt a powerful energy signal from Thanos Overlord's body. Although the strength of this energy signal is not as strong as Mephisto in Hell, nor as strong as Odin in Asgard, it is still amazing. Inferior Heavenly Father. The current Thanos Overlord is without a doubt an inferior Heavenly Father. Little Black, it's time to do something serious. As soon as Rog's voice fell, Little Black, who was standing next to Ant-Man Scott, showed a ferocious smile, and his figure instantly shrank, turning back into the pitch-black Northern Cold Blade form. Wearing the Northern Cold Blade on his belt, Rog directly disappeared from the box with the Flying Thunder God and came to Hulk's side. After knowing that Hulk's next opponent is Gamora, Rog quietly left the Flying Thor technique on Hulk, ready to support Hulk at any time. Hulk was strong, very strong, but Thanos was stronger. In Rog's memory, Thanos was the only one who defeated Hulk with a physical attack with his bare hands. Although Ancient One can also stun Hulk with a single palm strike, Ancient One used magic to push Hulk's soul out of his body, not in the real sense of knocking him down. Moreover, what Ancient One pushed out of the body at that time was not Hulk's soul, but Banner's soul. Gamora, come with me. After arriving at the arena, Thanos completely ignored Hulk, who was not far away, and ignored Rog, who had just arrived at the arena, and said softly to Gamora. If it weren't for the double-edged sword in Thanos Overlord's hand that was still dripping with blood, Thanos Overlord at this time looked like a kind old father. However, Gamora did not intend to cooperate with Thanos. After hearing Thanos' words, Gamora pulled out 2 slender scimitars from her back. These 2 scimitars were originally intended to be used by Gamora to deal with Hulk. Now, it had become a weapon against Thanos. Gamora replaced her answer with practical actions, making the gentle expression on Thanos' face disappear suddenly. Looking at his daughter who was facing him with a sword, Thanos Overlord didn't say anything. There was no anger, and he didn't even say anything in a heavy tone. After looking at Gamora silently for a few seconds without saying a word, Thanos Overlord finally retracted his gaze from Gamora and looked at Rog and Hulk who were not far away. Thanos Overlord's gaze only stayed on Hulk for a second or two before it swept away, and then it stopped on Rog, who was wearing casual clothes. In the eyes of the audience of Sokka Planet, Hulk is the absolute king in the arena, and he is a well-deserved superstar in their hearts. However, in the eyes of Thanos Overlord, the current Hulk is just a warrior with a slightly decent strength. Compared with Hulk, Thanos Overlord obviously values Rog around Hulk more. Don't look at the current Rog only wearing ordinary black casual clothes, but Thanos Overlord saw a sense of déjà vu on Rog. In addition, Thanos Overlord also found that he seemed to have no way to immediately see through Rog's strength. This is an extremely rare situation for the battle-hardened and powerful Thanos Overlord. Young man, your strength is good. Are you interested in joining my side? After looking at Rog seriously, Thanos Overlord said to Rog. Sorry, I'm not interested for the time being. During the conversation, Rog came from Hulk's side to Hulk and protected Hulk behind him. Now is not the time to let Hulk confront Thanos Overlord one-on-one, and Rog does not want Hulk to have any psychological shadow. It's a pity, if you can join me, we may be able to become good friends. Thanos Overlord said with a little regret. At this time, Thanos Overlord's other adopted daughter, Nebula, and his 5 most powerful men, the 5 Black Radiance generals, also came out of the transmission beam and stood silently behind Thanos Overlord. Nebula's image was no different from Rog's memory. She was still a blue-skinned half-human half-machine. As for the 5 Black Radiance generals, according to Rog's evaluation, they were uglier than the other. Not to mention Ebony Throat, who was pale and didn't look like a good person. The head of the 5 Black Radiance generals, the Death Blade General with a sickle-like long blade, and his lover, Proxima Centauri, were also not in line with Rog's aesthetic at all. As for Black Short Star, who was taller than Hulk and had the strongest defense among the 5 Black Radiance generals, as well as the universe-level scout supergiant, whom Roger had never seen before, who was wearing a white battle suit, they had nothing to do with being good-looking. Thanos Overlord, Nebula, and the 5 Black Radiance generals, although there were only 7 of them, when they appeared in the arena, the audience in the auditorium, without exception, felt a powerful oppressive force, an oppressive force that seemed to come from the depths of their souls. Whether it was Thanos Overlord, Nebula, or the 5 Black Radiance generals, they were all bloody butchers whose hands were stained with blood. Furthermore, they were different from the other butchers who had killed tens or hundreds of people. The number of people they had killed was much higher. At the very least, it was tens or hundreds of times more. For a super fierce person like Thanos Overlord, his killing unit was calculated in planets. Slaughtering an entire civilization or planet, for others, was just a description. But for Thanos Overlord, it was a real bloody record. Of course, under normal circumstances, Thanos Overlord would kill half of them and leave the other half alive. He didn't often do things like completely slaughtering the life of an entire planet. It's fine if we become friends, but if you know what I'm planning, you'll want to skin me alive and pull my tendons out. Chapter 365. Rog's answer quickly aroused the dissatisfaction of the 5 Black Generals and Nebula. Although Thanos didn't say anything, he couldn't help but frown slightly after hearing Rog's answer. He didn't know if it was his own illusion, but Thanos always felt that Rog knew a lot of secrets related to himself. This kind of feeling of being completely seen through made him very uncomfortable. You know me very well? After thinking for a few seconds, Thanos asked in a domineering tone as usual. I don't dare to say that I know you very well, I can only say that I know a little bit. Although Thanos didn't deliberately release his powerful momentum, it was difficult for ordinary people to keep calm in front of a powerful and famous person like him. But just like Thanos wasn't a normal person, Rog wasn't an ordinary person either. If Thanos was a powerful madman, then Rog was the same as him, a madman with amazing strength. The only difference was that the craziness of the two of them was a little different. Your Excellency, I hope to teach this kid who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson for you. Before Thanos answered, Ebony Throat, who was standing behind him, knelt down on one knee and said very respectfully, "Keep him alive, I want to know what he knows." When Ebony Throat took the initiative to propose to teach Rog a lesson, Thanos thought for a few seconds and then agreed to Ebony Throat's request. Although it was the first time Thanos saw Rog, he instinctively felt something called trouble in Rog. This guy is not simple. This was purely an intuition, but Thanos firmly believed that his intuition would not be wrong. Praise your benevolence. Your will is my mission. After speaking, Ebony Throat, whose skin was pale like the undead, stood up and looked at Rog not far away with a proud face. "I'll leave that big black guy to you, I'll deal with the others." Rog ignored the hostility in Ebony Throat's eyes and turned to Hulk next to him. Hulk's physical attack and physical defense were extremely outstanding. Letting him fight against Black Short Star, who had the strongest defense and physical strength among the 5 generals of Black Radiance, was a battle plan that did not require much consideration. Rog planned to deal with Ebony Throat, who had telekinesis abilities, Supergiant, who had mind control abilities, as well as his lovers, who had outstanding close combat abilities, Deathblade General and Proxima Dark Knight. Of course, Thanos was also handled by him. As for Thanos' other adopted daughter, Nebula, she was naturally Gamera's opponent. Ebony Throat took the lead to walk out from behind Thanos and went straight to Rog, who was not far away. Just when Ebony Throat moved, Rog also used ninjutsu. Would release, would clone. 4 wood clones that looked exactly like him rushed out from behind him and attacked Ebony Throat and the others. Rog did intend to deal with Ebony Throat and the other 3 by himself, but he did not intend to do it himself. Generals against generals, kings against kings. Thanos' subordinates only needed wood clones to deal with them. When Rog's wood clones attacked Ebony Throat and the others, the guards of Sokka Planet's ruler, Gao Tianzuan, finally arrived at the arena. However, Luo Gu, Thanos, and the others didn't care about these guards at all. Thanos waved his left hand casually, and small spaceships of different shapes flew out from Temple Number 2 above the arena. A donut-like circular spaceship, a triangular pillar-like landing ship, and a dense number of small troop carriers. This time, Thanos did not send the Chidori Legion that had appeared in the Battle of New York, but another legion under his command, the Vanguard Guard Legion. Judging from Thanos' arrangement, it was obvious that he came to Sokka Planet this time not just to take Gamora home. The circular spaceships and landing ships that flew out of Temple Number 2 did not take the arena as their main target, but flew to different corners of Sokka City and began to attack the entire city. It didn't take long for explosions to come from Sokka City. The complete attack of the Vanguard Guard Legion made Gao Tianzuan's face extremely ugly. He thought that Thanos only wanted to take Gamora away, but it turned out that Thanos had come with an all-out attack on Sokka Planet from the beginning. Inform all the troops in the city to fight back against the invaders. Let the slave gladiators also participate in the battle. Tell them that those who perform well will be restored as free gladiators after the war. Gao Tianzuan, who was holding a scepter in his hand, gave the order with a cold face, his eyes fixed on Thanos in the arena. Since he wants war, we'll give him war. Although Sokka Planet was a dictatorial planet with a special shape, the armed forces of Sokka Planet were not weaker than those of other civilized planets. To some extent, Sokka Planet could even be regarded as having all its citizens as soldiers. Gao Tianzuan's order was quickly passed down, and the defense of Sokka City officially began. As Rog expected, Nebula went directly to Gamora, and the sisters engaged in a life-and-death battle. Hulk was entangled with the tall and strong Dark Short Star, and the two were like 2 crazy beasts engaged in a hand-to-hand fight. Ebony Throat and the other 3 were targeted by Rog's wood clone, and they used ninjutsu to fight against superpowers, genjutsu to fight against mind control, and taijutsu to fight against close combat. At this time, Thanos and Rog became the 2 people in the arena who have not yet started fighting. Your little tricks are quite good, I appreciate you more and more. Taking a look at the battle between the wood clone and Ebony Throat and others, Thanos spoke again. Correct you, these are not little tricks, but art that can take people's lives. As soon as his voice fell, Rog took the initiative to attack Thanos. Although the current Thanos did not have an Infinity Stone, Rog still did not dare to have the slightest carelessness. Even without an Infinity Stone, Thanos is a real Heavenly Father-level existence, a super powerhouse who can slaughter an entire planet and civilization. In just a moment, Rog crossed a distance of more than 10 meters and came in front of Thanos like a ghost. Without any hesitation, the northern cold blade in his hand directly slashed at Thanos' neck. The instant kill after the high-speed sprint has become his starting move for most of his battles. Opponents who are not strong enough or react fast enough are no different from lambs waiting to be slaughtered in the face of this simple and crude surprise attack. Clang! Although Rog's surprise attack was very fast, Thanos' reaction was also very fast. Thanos raised the double-edged saber in his right hand and blocked Rog's lightning-fast slash. A crisp collision sound rang, and the northern cold blade and the double-edged saber that collided with each other vibrated slightly at the same time. This kind of attack power is a bit interesting. Feeling the power from his right hand, a look of curiosity appeared on Thanos' face. Chapter 366. There are many races in the universe that look exactly like the Earthlings, so Thanos Overlord couldn't tell which planet Rog came from for a while. However, in his memory, even if it was Asgard, not everyone has such outstanding physical strength. Regarding this, the main reason is that Thanos Overlord came a little too late. If he came to Sokka Star earlier, even if it was only a few hours, he could easily know the origin of Rog. Although he was a little curious, Thanos Overlord did not stop his movements. Thanos Overlord's right wrist gently turned, and the 2-meter-long double-edged sword with amazing weight turned in a direction extremely flexibly, slashing diagonally from top to bottom. If he was cut, with Rog's current physique, cutting him in half would be his best ending. Although Rog didn't know who helped Thanos Overlord build such a domineering weapon, he knew that the double-edged sword in Thanos Overlord's hand had a super attack power that could cut through vibranium shields. The existence of the immortal body allowed him to have a physique far beyond that of the Earthlings. But no matter how strong it was, the immortal body could not strengthen his body to be stronger than vibranium. In the face of Thanos Overlord's casual but powerful counterattack, Rog did not dare to hesitate and immediately used ninjutsu to retreat. Lightning release, lightning body flicker. Compared with the ordinary body flicker technique, lightning body flicker is not only faster, but also better looking, which is more in line with Rog's combat aesthetic. The huge and sharp double-edged sword directly cut through the position where Rog was originally standing and passed through the light blue electric current left by Rog's lightning body flicker. Thanos Overlord was not surprised that the counterattack failed. If Rog couldn't even avoid such an attack, Thanos Overlord would feel abnormal. After quickly pulling away, Rog did not immediately launch a second wave of attacks, but carefully looked at Thanos Overlord. Because the current Thanos Overlord does not have any Infinity Stone, he does not need to worry about Thanos Overlord's incredible energy attack. But even so, Thanos Overlord, who can only use physical attacks, is still a difficult enemy. Although the rapid surprise attack was blocked by Thanos, it also allowed Rog to have a preliminary understanding of the physical strength possessed by Thanos. Among the opponents he had encountered so far, Thanos' physical strength was well deserved to be number one. Even Thor and Hulk were weaker than Thanos in terms of physical strength. If Slayer Overlord didn't have the advantage of making the first move and the speed of the surprise attack, Slayer Overlord's block just now had a great chance to directly send the northern cold blade in Rog's hand flying. Until now, Roger's right hand still felt waves of pain from the web between his thumb and index finger. In addition, what made him more concerned was Thanos Overlord's casual and understatement. There were many opponents who could block his rapid surprise attack, but none of them could do it as casually as Thanos. Rog had only seen this kind of fighting style of casually repelling the opponent's attack and immediately counterattacking. It was just that the opponents he faced at that time were all insignificant soldiers with mediocre strength. Thanos was more difficult to deal with than expected. Rog quickly made a judgment. If Thanos Overlord didn't have this kind of strength, he wouldn't be qualified to carry out the crazy plan to destroy all life in the universe. Strength, speed, physical strength, combat reaction, combat skills, combat experience. Rog helplessly found that except for the advantage in speed, he was far inferior to the current Thanos overlord in several other indicators. The limitations brought about by his race were now vividly displayed. Since his innate conditions were not as good as the opponent, then he would add a few buffs to himself. In short, Rog was going to start stacking buffs on himself. Chakra Coat, Thunder Release Chakra Mode, Sage Mode, Hellfire, Hashimantanku, Nine-Tailed Chakra Coat, these were the buffs that Rog currently mastered that could significantly improve his combat state. After thinking for a few seconds, Rog quickly made a decision. Buffs, to stack layer by layer, there was no need to use a killer move at the beginning. Thunder Release Chakra Mode. In just a moment, Thunder Release Chakra was concentrated in every part of Rog's body. His body instantly became active, his speed, defense, and nerve conduction speeds suddenly increased, and the silver-white lightning also covered his body. Looking at Rog's body suddenly shrouded in light blue chakra and wrapped in lightning, Thanos Overlord's face showed a hint of excitement. Until now, Thanos Overlord didn't know why he had such a strong interest in a stranger like Rog. In his intuition, he always had a feeling that he had met a real kindred spirit, which was one of the reasons why he took the initiative to recruit Rog before. Such an opponent, if he killed him directly, it would be a waste. Just as Thanos Overlord was thinking about how to beat Rog without really killing or crippling Rog, Rog launched his second wave of attack against Thanos Overlord. Just like before, Rog chose to use his most familiar and favorite rapid ambush tactic. Thunder Release Lightning Body Blink. Rog's figure disappeared in an instant, leaving a weak electric current with the thickness of a finger in place. The lightning body blink in the Thunder Release Chakra mode allowed Rog to have a speed far beyond the previous, making him disappear from the arena as if he really disappeared. However, in front of Thanos Overlord, his speed was not fast enough, at least not fast enough to break through the limits of Thanos Overlord's dynamic vision. At the moment when Rog disappeared, Thanos Overlord, who was holding a double-edged saber, took a step forward with his left leg, and the double-edged saber in his right hand slashed out. Clang! The northern cold saber in Rog's hand once again collided with Thanos Overlord's double-edged saber. But this time, it was Thanos Overlord's double-edged saber that took the initiative to hit Rog's northern cold saber. A huge force was transmitted directly through the northern cold saber to Rog's right hand, making his right hand slightly numb. However, at the moment when the northern cold saber collided with the double-edged saber, his empty left hand pulled out the flying Thor kunai that had not been used for a long time, and threw the flying Thor kunai directly at Thanos Overlord. Uchiha Ryu Throw. Although Rog is not an Uchiha clan member, his throwing technique is not worse than the Uchiha clan member, and is even stronger. The physical strength of Thanos, who was obviously a level stronger than Roger, sent him flying without any suspense, causing him to fly out uncontrollably. Rog never expected himself to be able to compete with Thanos Overlord in physical strength, including being hit now. Everything was in his plan. Rog, who was holding the northern cold saber, flew out upside down, and the flying Thor kunai that was thrown out by him also came in front of Thanos Overlord at this time. As an experienced fighter, Thanos Overlord certainly can't ignore the existence of the flying Thor kunai. He only slightly tilted his neck and avoided the flying Thor kunai that was like a bullet. Is that all? After easily avoiding the flying Thor kunai, Thanos Overlord couldn't help but lower his evaluation of Rog. Using a throwing weapon to launch a second attack, this tactic can't be said to be wrong. It's just that this tactic appeared at this time, it's obviously a bit inappropriate. This is not in line with Rog's strength, but it also has the mentality of underestimating the opponent. It's impossible to make an accurate judgment of the enemy's strength, which means that Rog is only a so-so. Just when such an idea just emerged in Thanos Overlord's mind, an instinctive sense of danger instantly emerged in his mind. No, this is not the end. Thanos Overlord just wanted to react, but everything was too late. Flying Thor Second Stage, Flying Thor Chop. Chapter 367. Although this was the first time that Rog used Flying Thor Slash in a battle, this did not affect his familiarity with this move. As long as he mastered the second stage of Flying Thor, whether it was followed by Rasengan or Slash, it was equally powerful. The dark northern cold sword from the blind spot where Thanos couldn't escape, slashed at his neck like lightning. However, Just when Rog thought that he would take the first blood of Thanos, an accident happened again. The northern cold blade drew a beautiful arc in the air and directly attacked Thanos' neck. Then, it slashed on Thanos' helmet that didn't look very heavy. In front of flying Thor's slash, although Thanos didn't have enough time to dodge and counterattack, he could still tilt his neck slightly. Clang! The crisp sound of metal hitting metal rang again. Relying on flying Thor's slash, Rog successfully caught Thanos off guard, and then, he didn't get any results. Although the helmet worn by Thanos looked ordinary, its hardness was no worse than the double-edged sword in his hand. The Northern Cold Sword, which cut iron like mud in front of ordinary metal, only left a finger-sized slash mark on Thanos' helmet, and did not cause any damage to Thanos. Damn it! The hardness of Thanos' helmet was far beyond Rog's expectations, which made him curse in his heart. Under normal circumstances, the existence of physical strength didn't like to wear armor, such as Hulk, who was a typical representative. Thanos' physical strength was stronger than Hulk's, but he still wore a solid armor, not giving his opponent any chance. What is called being cautious, this is it. Thanos' helmet made Rog return without success again, and it also exposed his flying Thor slash, a surprise attack move. In front of Thanos, a powerful and highly intelligent existence, the more moves exposed, the more troublesome the next battle will be. This is why Rog has always been cautious in choosing offensive methods. The flying Thor's slash did not deal the expected damage. Without any hesitation, Rog used Lightning Body Blink to increase the distance between them. When Rog's figure reappeared dozens of meters behind him, Thanos holding the double-edged sword slowly turned around and looked at Rog seriously. I have to admit that I underestimated you. You are an opponent worthy of being treated seriously, so I will treat this battle seriously. Rog's flying Thor chop made Thanos feel a long-lost sense of danger. As a madman who constantly fought in the universe, it had been a long time since he felt such a threat to his life. Out of respect for Rog, he had to take this battle seriously. Don't look at how Thanos came to the Colosseum fully armed, but before Rog's flying thunder god slash, he always held some indifferent attitude. Sokka Star's gladiators did have some fame in the universe, but in the eyes of Thanos, these gladiators were barely qualified. Because of this, Thanos had never put Sokka Star's gladiators in his eyes. Before, he had always had a game mentality when he fought with Rog. The appearance of the flying Thor's slash gave Thanos a reason to take it seriously. Rog didn't know what Thanos would look like when he was serious, but after Thanos said those words, he couldn't help but clench the Northern Cold Sword in his hand and the flying Thor's kunai. Just as Roger was thinking about how the serious Thanos Overlord would attack, Thanos Overlord, who was holding a double-edged sword, suddenly disappeared from his eyes. So fast. Thanos broke out with a speed that was no slower than Rog's lightning body blink in the chakra mode. He instantly came in front of him, and the huge double-edged sword slashed toward him. This sword cannot be blocked. Block, you will die. The terrifying combat intuition honed by rich combat experience allowed Rog to make a judgment in an instant. Thanos' sword seemed ordinary, but if he really treated this sword as an ordinary slash to block, he would definitely be cut in half by Thanos. Flying Thor. When Thanos' double-edged sword was about to cut Rog's head, Rog's figure disappeared again, disappearing out of thin air in front of Thanos. This time, Rog did not use the flying Thor to counterattack, but purely retreated. In just a moment, he came to the vicinity of Hulk from Thanos' double-edged sword. Relying on the flying Thor technique on Hulk, he successfully escaped Thanos' lightning-like sword, and he couldn't help but be shocked. Thanos had never been known for his speed. At least in Rog's memory, Thanos' speed could only be regarded as average. But just now, Thanos relied on his incomparably strong body and broke out with an amazing speed that was completely inconsistent with his body shape. If it weren't for Rog himself being very good at this kind of rapid attack, Thanos' sword had a more than 90% chance of hitting him directly. Does he have to be so abnormal? This kind of physical fitness is cheating. Your reaction is really fast, but how many times can you escape? After the sword missed, Thanos did not show any unexpected look, but instead, he looked at Hulk next to Rog with interest. Now Hulk was in a close combat with Black Short Star, and they did not pay attention to the sudden appearance of Rog. Rog just relied on the flying Thor to avoid Thanos' attack, but Thanos also noticed something from his evasion. When he first appeared, Rog used the flying Thor to teleport to Hulk's side, and instantly came from the top box to the arena. And just now, he used the flying Thunder God to avoid Thanos' attack and came to Hulk's side again. For others, there was no relationship between the two, but Thanos saw the key point. Hulk was the key point of Rog's two teleportations. Coupled with the previous flying Thor, Thanos immediately found the fatal weakness of the flying Thor. Rog's teleportation required a key space jump point. Although Thanos didn't know how the flying Thor did this, Rog's teleportation reminded him of the spaceship space jump in the vast universe. You'll know if you try it. Roger now found that he increasingly hated Thanos, an opponent with rich experience and keen combat intuition. Although Thanos didn't say it clearly, he could see that Thanos had already seen the key to the flying Thor. The only thing that hasn't been mastered by Thanos is that he still doesn't know the existence of the flying Thor technique. If you only know how to dodge, you can't win against me. As soon as the voice fell, Thanos attacked Rog again. Exactly the same as before, Thanos instantly crossed the distance of tens of meters and waved a powerful chop. The double-edged saber slashed toward Rog with full power, but Rog stood silently in place as if he didn't see it. Who told you that I only know how to dodge? While talking, Thanos' double-edged saber came in front of Rog, and it was only the last tens of meters away from him. However, it was this short distance of tens of centimeters that became a moat that the double-edged saber could not cross. The huge and sharp double-edged saber was held by an equally huge light blue right hand. The sharp blade slashed on the bony hand formed by chakra and was firmly grasped by the bony hand, unable to move. Manjikyu Sharingan Susanoo. Chapter 368. If there were other options, Rog wouldn't want to use Susanoo so soon. However, Thanos Overlord's performance made him have no choice but to use this powerful ninjutsu not long after the battle started. Although Thanos Overlord without Infinity Stone couldn't release energy attacks, his powerful body allowed him to have extremely terrifying physical attack and physical defense. If described in the words of the game, the current Thanos Overlord was a cheater with both the attack power of a full level 6 God armor and the health and defense of a full level 6 God armor tank. Although Rog will fight like a berserker when he goes crazy. But in the end, he is still a ninja similar to an assassin. High attack, low health, and fast speed, this has always been his battle positioning. However, Thanos Overlord's cheat-like existence just restrained his best fighting style, so he had to use Susanoo early. When Susanoo appeared, Rog also removed Raiton Chakra mode from his body. Now, he hasn't reached the level of combining Raiton Chakra mode and Susanoo at the same time. When Susanoo's materialized skeletal hand firmly grasped the double-edged sword, Thanos Overlord's face showed an unexpected look for the first time. Thanos Overlord thought that he had figured out Rog's fighting style, but in the blink of an eye, Rog gave him a new surprise. His right hand slightly exerted force, but the double-edged sword held by Susanoo didn't move. This energy materialized armor is a bit interesting. What's the name of this move? With this move alone, you have the qualifications to be famous in the universe. Although Susanoo hasn't launched an attack yet, Thanos Overlord has already seen the powerful potential of Susanoo. Its defense is amazing, and its strength is not weak. Even if this move can only be used as a simple defensive move, it can be regarded as a very good move. Thanos Overlord was very clear about the attack power of his double-edged sword, so he was very clear about what kind of defense was needed to block his double-edged sword. Susanoo. The name of this move is Susanoo. Rog didn't mind Thanos Overlord knowing the name of Susanoo. Even if Thanos Overlord's combat experience was rich, it was impossible for him to know the secret of Susanoo from a name. If Thanos Overlord could really do this, he would have already become a terrifying existence at the level of Heavenly Father, or even a single universe level. Susanoo, this name is good. Thanos Overlord's right hand tried several times, but he couldn't pull the double-edged sword out of Susanoo's hand. Susanoo is not just good name. As soon as his voice fell, Susanoo suddenly changed to its second form with flesh and blood and flesh and blood. The initial form of Susanoo could be used to temporarily resist the attack of Thanos, but if he wanted to truly display the power of Susanoo, he still needed to upgrade it to the second form with flesh and meridians. In the Hell Sage mode, Rog once upgraded Susanoo to the third form with armor for a short period of time. But that was a temporary breakthrough to the third form under special circumstances, not the real level of his Susanoo. If it was possible, Rog would like to play the Susanoo Great Buddha again. Unfortunately, the current him was still unable to do so. However, even the second form of Susanoo was enough to compete with Thanos Overlord for a while. When Susanoo was upgraded to the second form, Rog didn't hesitate and immediately manipulated Susanoo's right hand to grab Thanos Overlord's double-edged sword and threw it into the distance. Disarming was only the first step. When Susanoo's right hand took away Thanos Overlord's double-edged sword, Susanoo's left hand also emerged a Super Jade Rasengan with a diameter of several meters. The madly rotating Super Jade Rasengan was just formed and was pressed by Susanoo to Thanos Overlord not far in front of him. He didn't know if it was because he was confident enough or wanted to personally experience the power of Super Jade Rasengan. Facing Susanoo's Super Jade Rasengan, Thanos Overlord didn't retreat, but fiercely punched at Super Jade Rasengan. Boom! Super Jade Rasengan containing a lot of chakra and Thanos Overlord's right fist fiercely collided, and then it shattered. In front of Super Jade Rasengan with a diameter of several meters, Thanos Overlord's right fist seemed so small. However, such a seemingly completely unequal right fist broke out with a shocking force, directly smashing Super Jade Rasengan that was bigger than Thanos Overlord. The terrifying explosion shock wave and the uncontrolled chakra turbulence hit the surrounding like a tsunami, blowing away Hulk, 5 Black Radiance generals, and others who were fighting in the arena. The ground of the arena completely collapsed, and spiderweb-like cracks spread throughout the entire arena. Even the metal walls around the arena had cracks and holes in them from the terrifying shockwave of the explosion. For a time, broken stones and metal fragments flew around, and the sky was filled with flying dust. Fortunately, the audience in the auditorium had already begun to evacuate from the battle, otherwise, who knows how many innocent spectators would have been affected by the terrifying explosion shock wave. Although the sudden explosion shock wave blew away Hulk and others who were fighting, it did not cause any obvious damage to them. Except for those Sokka city guards who were easily dealt with at the beginning, everyone fighting in the arena was not weak. Although it would be a bit embarrassing to be blown away by the shock wave, that was all. When the explosion shock wave had just dissipated, Ebony Throat and the other 5 Black Radiance generals wanted to support Thanos Overlord, but before they had time to step out, they were stopped by Rog's Wood Clone and Hulk. This was a battle between Thanos Overlord and Rog. Whether it was Thanos Overlord or Rog, they would not let others intervene. You really surprise me more and more. I'll give you one last chance, join me, and I'll spare your life. Thanos Overlord, who had smashed Super Jade Rasengan with a punch, said again. I also appreciate you, but I don't have the interest to become someone else's subordinate. As soon as his voice fell, Rog once again controlled Susanoo to launch an attack. Although there were not many ninjutsu that Susanoo could use, it was completely enough for close combat. Rasengan, Super Jade Rasengan, Super Jade Rasengan, Chidori, Chidori Stream, Chidori Sharp Spear, Thunder Sword Draw, Lightning Palm, Lightning Release. Rog regarded Susanoo as his original body and released one ninjutsu after another. And Thanos Overlord also seemed to be tit for tat, using his completely unreasonable body to face Rog's Susanoo with his bare hands. Rumble, the sound of thunder and explosions continued to sound, and the already ravaged arena became even more dilapidated. Chapter 369. Scarlet Dusk Arena Theme Hotel, Top Floor Royal Suite. Is Rog really going to be okay? That man is Thanos. Noah stood behind Natasha with a two-handed greatsword on his back and asked worriedly. He has never lost since his debut, I believe in him. Natasha stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window in the living room, looking at the distant arena that was constantly surging with silver-white lightning and violent explosions, and slowly said. I admit that he is very strong, but that man is Thanos after all. You are from Earth, so you may not know how terrifying Thanos is. Thanos is a terrifying existence that can destroy a civilization by himself. Natasha was full of confidence in Rog, but Noah was not as optimistic as her. As the deputy head of the rope trappers, Noah knew better than anyone else how terrifying Thanos, known as the Emperor of the Universe, was. In his view, Rog was the kind of powerful existence that could dominate a planet. And Thanos was the pinnacle existence that could dominate the universe. Are you trying to escape? Natasha still didn't look back and asked calmly. No, I absolutely don't have such an idea, but I don't think he should be an enemy of Thanos. We are not venerable Gao's people, and we will not live in Sokka Star forever. We don't need to offend such a powerful existence as Thanos. To be honest, when Rog confronted Thanos, Noah did have the intention to escape immediately. Now that the entire Sokka city was in chaos, with his strength, as long as he was careful, he could easily grab a spaceship, and then quietly leave Sokka Star, completely getting rid of his hostage status. But before he could implement this plan, he remembered Rog's warning. This is a safety device, but I believe you are a smart person, you won't let this safety device take effect. Thinking of this, Noah couldn't help but touch his neck. Forget it, I'll believe him this time. A person with such powerful strength can't be a reckless guy. After touching his neck for a few seconds, Noah finally made a decision. While Natasha, Noah, and the others were anxiously waiting for Rog's return, Rog in the gladiator arena was caught in a dilemma. Relying on the powerful defense granted by Susanoo, Rog didn't have to worry about being seriously injured or killed by Thanos for the time being. Thanos can't hurt him for the time being, but he can't give Thanos enough fatal damage. Using the Meridian system in Susanoo, Rog can make Susanoo perform ninjutsu on his behalf. However, Susanoo's ninjutsu couldn't cause serious damage to Thanos. With the passage of time, the chakra in his body was being consumed at a terrifying rate. Whether it is Susanoo or those ninjutsu, they all consume a lot of chakra. What's more, before using Susanoo, he also summoned 4-wood clone jutsu, which took away a lot of chakra from his main body. Don't look at his crazy release of ninjutsu like a ninjutsu cannon, but the damage these ninjutsu can bring to Thanos is extremely limited. The strength of Thanos' body is far beyond his expectations. Now he finally understands why Thanos can use a set of military boxing to completely defeat Hulk. Although Thanos had a human-like body, his body was completely beyond the concept of human beings. His flesh and blood is comparable to God. This is the deepest feeling Rog has had since he fought with Thanos. No, I can't continue like this. If I continue to fight like this, sooner or later, Thanos will die here. Rog perceived the remaining chakra and intended to end this war of attrition as soon as possible. Just like Roger, the current Thanos was getting more and more frightened as he fought. Thanos thought that Rog was just a strong man from a certain planet, a strong man with some strength, but only at an ordinary level. However, after really fighting with Rog, especially after fighting with Rog's Susanoo, Thanos was surprised to find that Rog was a powerful existence that was not much weaker than him. If he was not present, he could single-handedly take on the 5 black generals and the entire Vanguard Guard Corps. Thanos made an extremely rare high evaluation of Rog's strength. There are not many people who can make Thanos make such an evaluation, even looking at the whole universe. For example, Asgard's father of gods, Odin, and the planet Devourer who lives by devouring planets. Of course, in addition to Odin and the planet Devourer, there are many stronger existences in the universe. But those existences basically don't care about what happens in the universe. As long as the universe is not destroyed, even if all the civilizations and lives in the universe disappear, they may not care. Thanos was thinking about how to attack Rog and Susanoo, and Rog was also thinking about how to restrict Thanos for a while so that he could take Hulk out of the arena. If you want to restrict the enemy, the best choice is to use sealing technique. Rog doesn't know many sealing techniques now, only the 4 symbols seal and the King Kong seal. However, these 2 sealing techniques are not suitable to restrict Thanos, so he intends to use the magic he learned in Kamartaj. Although from the perspective of the sorcerer profession, he is not a very pure sorcerer. But what can't be denied is that he has a talent in spells. If not for this, there would be no need for Sorcerer Supreme to accept him as a student who was not in the plan. Wood release, wood human jutsu. Wood release, wood dragon jutsu. Unlike other ninjutsu, wood release is a Kekkei Genkai and can only be used by Rogue himself. However, with the protection provided by Susanoo, he doesn't need to worry about being attacked when he uses these two ninjutsu. Under the control of Rogue, Wood Arhat, more than 10 meters high, and Wood Dragon, tens of meters long, emerged from the ground and directly attacked Thanos, who was attacking Susanoo. The power of Wood Arhat and Wood Dragon is unquestionable, but it is too realistic to expect them to completely entangle Thanos. With the combat power shown by Thanos, Wood Arhat and Wood Dragon can only buy more than 10 seconds at most, and then they will be completely torn into ordinary wood by Thanos. However, Rogue didn't expect Wood Arhat and Wood Dragon to completely entangle Thanos. What he needed was just a time for him to cast magic without being disturbed. When Thanos was repelled dozens of meters by Wood Arhat and Wood Dragon, Rogue immediately removed the Susanoo that had been fighting for a long time and mobilized the magic in his body. Rogue's hands quickly made a few gestures like ninjutsu, and then, the orange-red magic halo wrapped around his wrists like bracelets. Magic, Mirror Dimension. Chapter 370. The Mirror Dimension is an independent space parallel to the real world. No matter what happens in the Mirror Dimension, it will not have an impact on the real world. In Camartage, the Mirror Dimension is often used as an independent training space. Of course, because the Mirror Dimension and the real world are parallel to each other, the Mirror Dimension can also be used to monitor the real world, or to isolate dangers from the real world or the multiverse. However, in the hands of Rogue, the biggest role of the Mirror Dimension is to isolate his enemies and become a cage-like existence. When the Mirror Dimension was completely prepared, Rogue did not hesitate, and his hands wrapped in an orange-red halo suddenly pushed forward. With the push of Rogue's hands, an invisible energy surged out like a wave. In the blink of an eye, Rogue enveloped everyone in the arena in the Mirror Dimension. Unlike the real world, in the Mirror Dimension, there was a sense of mirror refraction like folded glass in the empty air. In order to pull Thanos, the 5 generals of Black Radiance, and the others into the Mirror Dimension space, Rogue's Mirror Dimension space this time was quite large. Not only did it cover the entire Colosseum, but it also included the city area outside the Colosseum. When the real world was replaced by the Mirror Dimension, Rogue did not hesitate and immediately summoned the necessary prop for the portal magic. Rogue used the Mirror Dimension to trap Thanos and others in the Mirror Dimension, not to change the venue to continue fighting with Thanos. Although he was somewhat helpless, he had to admit that he did not have the strength to completely defeat Thanos. Even if he enters Sage Mode or borrows Kyuubi's chakra, the result will not change. Fighting Thanos to a draw was the limit of what he could do now. Thanos is a relatively pure fighter. Although he can't control energy, he noticed the existence of the Mirror Dimension, but he couldn't figure out the nature of the Mirror Dimension for the first time. Unlike Thanos, Ebony Throat, who has the ability to teleport objects, discovered the difference between the Mirror Dimension and the real world when the Mirror Dimension was unfolded. Not only that, but Ebony Throat also discovered that the Mirror Dimension that Rogue had just used was extremely compatible with his extraordinary ability. It was as if it was tailor-made for him. Among the 5 Black Obsidian generals, Ebony Throat, who had the ability to teleport objects, was the one who resembled a mage the most. Although his telekinesis ability was not magic, the effect it displayed was no different from magic. In addition, he was not good at close combat, so among the 5 Black Obsidian generals, he had always been the think tank and the long-range attacker. In the real world, Ebony Throat, who had the ability to move objects with his mind, could freely control the surrounding matter. After being forcefully pulled into the Mirror Dimension by Rogue, his telekinesis ability became even more terrifying. Controlling matter in the Mirror Dimension was much easier than controlling matter in the real world. "Sir, this is a special parallel space. He's planning to escape." Ebony Throat, who was originally entangled by the wood clone, flew to the side of Thanos Overlord and said respectfully. In the real world, Rogue's wood clone could barely suppress Ebony Throat. After entering the Mirror Dimension, Ebony Throat's telekinesis ability had been terrifyingly improved, and it took him only a few seconds to solve the wood clone. Find a way to solve this special space. The guy on the other side must not be left alive. Now Thanos Overlord had completely no intention of subduing Rog. In Rog, he saw signs of being completely out of control. Continuing to keep Rog's life would only bring endless trouble to himself. Thanos Overlord did have some appreciation for Rog, but this appreciation was not enough to let him keep Rog, a troublesome character. With the help of Ebony Throat, Wood Arhut and the Wood Dragon, who could not stop Thanos Overlord for a long time, were suddenly ravaged and scarred, and there were signs of collapse at any time. Rog was not surprised that Ebony Throat's telekinesis ability would be strengthened in the mirror dimension. Before casting the mirror dimension, he took this into account. However, Ebony Throat was not the only one who could telekinesis in the mirror dimension. Folding space. Matter control. In the real world, Rog could not do this. Even if he used the reality gem, he could only achieve limited control and folding. But in the mirror dimension, even if he did not use the reality gem, he could control everything at will. His hands kept turning, and the arena in the mirror dimension began to change in a way that did not conform to the laws of physics. The earth fluctuated like the surface of the water, and then quickly reconstructed like building blocks. The sky began to reverse, gravity began to reverse, and everything in common sense began to change. In this strange world that seemed to have been turned upside down, Rog seemed to have transformed into the master of the world, dominating everything in the mirror dimension. Although Wood Arhut and the Wood Dragon fell down and turned into a piece of lifeless wood, the attack of Thanos Overlord and Ebony Throat did not decrease. All kinds of bricks, stones, metals, and other items, like a swarm of bees, attacked Thanos Overlord and others. At the same time, the chaotic gravity and the mysterious space folding also made Thanos Overlord and others fall into an unprecedented passive situation. Under the control of Rog, Thanos Overlord and others seemed to be targeted by the whole world, greeting all kinds of inexplicable attacks from all directions. Judging from the scene, Rog now has the upper hand, showing a powerful posture like a god. But Rog knew very well that these were just some fancy operations. Wanting to use these attacks to completely defeat Thanos Overlord was pure wishful thinking. So when Thanos Overlord and others resisted all kinds of incredible attacks, Rog did not intend to further expand the battle results, but directly Flying Thunder God came to Hulk's side. Magic Portal. As Rog's right hand continued to draw circles, a portal with golden sparks appeared in front of him and Hulk. When the portal was formed, Rog grabbed Hulk's shoulder and threw Hulk, who was far larger than himself, into it. Then, he went in as well. Using the portal, Rog and Hulk returned to the real world and returned to the empty Colosseum. Are we not going to fight? Although he had been fighting with Dark Short Star for a long time, Hulk was still somewhat unsatisfied at this time. No more fighting. There will be opportunities in the future, let's call it a day. Rog quickly replied to Hulk, then grabbed his right hand and Flying Thunder God again. In the next second, Rog and Hulk returned from the messy Colosseum to the royal suite of the Scarlet Dusk Hotel. Chapter 371. When Natasha and the others returned to the hotel first, Rog had already planned to use the Flying Thor to bring Hulk back. If not for this, he would not have suddenly confronted Thanos Overlord and launched an unplanned battle with Thanos Overlord. Using the Flying Thor on Natasha, Rog successfully returned to the hotel suite with Hulk. As for why Natasha had the Flying Thor he left on her, it started from the days in the land of nothingness. But this is not a very important thing. Anyway, after that night, he left the Flying Thor on Natasha's body and Ant-Man Scott's helmet. As the captain of this rescue operation, he still cares about his team members. Are you okay? Should we leave immediately, or stay and see the situation? As soon as Rog and Hulk's figures appeared, Natasha, who was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, immediately rushed over and asked with concern. We're fine. Let's leave here first. Thanos Overlord is obviously prepared this time. Sokka Star may change its ruler in the future. Roger replied casually, then continued to ask, how's the exchange of the new star coins that I asked you to exchange? Most of the championship coins have been exchanged back to new star coins, about 1 billion, and there are still some championship coins that have not been exchanged. When they first came to Sokka Star, Rog used 500 million new star coins to exchange for 50 million championship coins. As a result, after spending indiscriminately on Sokka Star for a while, their 50 million championship coins grew to 1 billion new star coins, which was twice as much as when they first came. The most important reason for this was that Rog, Hulk, and Little Hay participated in the gladiator fights repeatedly. Although their odds later became lower and lower, when they first appeared, the odds were still normal. It was through this legal method of betting that their wealth not only did not decline, but became more and more. This also reflected the saying that the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer and poorer. Don't worry about the remaining championship coins, let's leave Sokka Star now. Rog had more than 500 million new star coins on him, and with the money that Natasha had exchanged, it was enough for them to squander on Xander. I know where to get a suitable spaceship. When the slave hunters were transporting slaves to Gao Tianzuan, we went to his private hangar. There are many spaceships that meet the requirements for crossing the universe channel. At this moment, Noah, who was standing aside, suddenly stepped forward and said to Rog, "I appreciate your initiative, but we can't use the spaceship for the time being. We'll leave by other means." Rog glanced at Noah and said with a smile. Before he returned to the hotel, he was still wondering if Noah would take advantage of the chaos to escape. In the end, not only did Noah not run away, but he even showed signs of taking the initiative to integrate. This made him feel slightly gratified. However, even though he was pleased, it did not mean that he would let Noah go. That was a separate matter. Things still had to be made clear. Just like Thanos appreciates Rog, but this does not prevent Thanos from wanting to kill Rog. In this regard, Rog and Thanos were indeed very similar. To some extent, they were not the kind of people who would be easily influenced by emotions. No spaceship. Then how do we leave? After hearing Rog's answer, not only did Noah's face show a puzzled look, but even Natasha, who knew him better, was also puzzled. If you want to leave Sokka, in addition to the spaceship, you can also use this. After that, Rog pointed to the ring on his right hand with his left hand. Under the puzzled gaze of Natasha and others, Rog drew a circle in the air as if drawing out of thin air. Then, a circular portal with golden sparks appeared in front of them. On the other side of the portal was the farm of the rope hunters on the outskirts of Halton City on Xander. "This is the farm base of the slave hunters?" Natasha asked with some uncertainty. "Yes, it's the farm base of the slave hunters on the outskirts of Halton City. Hurry up and go in, I can't maintain this kind of ultra-long distance portal for a long time." Although Rog has mastered the magic taught by Ancient One, he is not an orthodox sorcerer of Kamartaj after all, and his magic power is not vast. Not every Kamartaj sorcerer can open a portal directly to Earth from the distant Titan star like Doctor Strange. The longer the distance across the portal, the more magic power it requires, and the more difficult it is to control it. Regarding this, Rog quietly tried it on the second day after he came to Sokka. Teleporting back to Xander or the Land of Nothingness is the limit of his current portal. As for returning directly to Earth or Asgard, he can't do it for the time being. Unless his magic power can be further increased, or in the Land of Nothingness, he may be able to open a portal to Asgard or Earth. Although Natasha and others didn't know how Rog did it, with their trust in Rog, they quickly crossed the portal and returned to the farm base of the rope hunters in Halton City. When everyone passed, Rog, whose magic power was about to be exhausted, walked into the portal, and then immediately closed the portal that was madly devouring his magic power. At the moment of crossing the portal, even Rog, who had the body of an immortal, couldn't help but shake and almost fall to the ground. His chakra was mostly consumed and his magic power was exhausted, which brought a double sense of physical and mental exhaustion, making him look extremely tired. "This is your home ground, the rest is up to you to arrange," Rog said to Noah in a tired tone, and then returned directly to the room where he lived before and began to rest after the battle. What will become of Sokka next, he doesn't particularly care. And with the strength of Gao Tianzuan, even if he can't keep his Sokka Star, he can leave Sokka Star alive. Although Gao Tianzuan and his brother Collector don't look very reliable, they are old monsters who have lived for God knows how many years, and as a member of the Council of Elders, they are definitely not as weak as they look. As for what Thanos Overlord will do next, Rog is not too worried. After the fight just now, he has roughly understood the strength of Thanos Overlord. As long as Thanos Overlord doesn't collect 6 Infinity Stones, he doesn't need to worry too much about the threat he brings. The Reality Gem is now in the hands of Rog, the Time Gem is in the hands of Ancient One, the Space Gem is in Asgard, and the Spirit Gem is in the head of Illusion. Even if Thanos Overlord wants to collect Infinity Stones, he can only start with the 2 gems, Power Gem and Soul Gem. And even if Thanos Overlord collects the Power Gem and Soul Gem, he may not dare to go after Ancient One and Odin. Chapter 372. The news that Thanos led an army to attack Sokka quickly spread. At the same time, the news that the 4th Hokage Rog defeated Ronan the Manipulator on Sokka and fought against Thanos without losing also spread. When he received the news, Rog was enjoying the traditional massage and relaxation service of Xander with Scott in New Star City, the capital of Xander. It has now been almost a week since Thanos attacked Sokka Star. 5 days ago, Rog and others left the farm base of the Rope Hunters on the outskirts of Halden City and came to New Star City, the capital of Xander. As the capital of Xander, New Star City is not only the most developed city on Xander, but also the headquarters of the New Star Corps. The existence of the New Star Corps makes New Star City have a public security environment far superior to other cities, and it also makes New Star City the city with the highest satisfaction among the residents of Xander. In New Star City, not to mention street fights, even the phenomenon of petty theft is basically eradicated. I like this planet more and more. It's just like Earth a few centuries later, a super technologically advanced Earth. Ant-Man Scott was lying on a massage bed, enjoying the service of 2 green-skinned Xander girls. You like it here, not because of the advanced technology here, but because you have enough money in your card. In the past 5 days, you alone have spent 50 million New Star coins. Rog, like Scott, was lying on a white massage bed, enjoying the gentle massage of Xander girls. Because of more than 1 billion New Star coins in hand, in the past 5 days, Rog and others used practical actions to prove what it means to spend money like water. Even the simple and honest Hulk also learned what it means to spend money as he pleases in these few days. But unlike Scott, most of Hulk's spending was used to enjoy delicious food. Even now, Hulk doesn't know which corner of New Star City he is enjoying delicious food. If you don't have any plans, I think we can stay here for a while. By the way, aren't you still waiting for the Ents of the slave hunters? I think you can give them a little more time. They are already working hard to find the Ents you want. Scott was now more and more glad that he had been chosen by Rog. This allowed him to experience the beauty of extraterrestrial travel. If you really like it here, I can get you a permanent residence permit and make you a legal citizen of Xander. You can stay here for as long as you want. After hearing Roger's words, Scott wanted to agree immediately. But before he opened his mouth, he suddenly realized something. If I really become a legal citizen of Xander, will you still bring me back to Earth? Scott asked worriedly. You're from Xander. Why are you returning to Earth? I have no intention of abducting aliens back to Earth. More than 1 hour later, Rog and Scott, who had been fully relaxed mentally and physically, left this male legal entertainment and relaxation place that was famous for its good service, high-quality staff and amazing consumption level in Star City. Yes, it was a legal place for entertainment and relaxation. Because all the services inside had to be taxed. Noah, the deputy leader of the slave hunters, was still with Rog and the others. Before he received what he wanted, Rog did not plan to let him go. And here, he also needed a competent driver and bodyguard. Let's go back to the hotel. The things I ordered should have been delivered to the hotel. After sitting in the luxurious car driven by Noah, Rog directly said the next destination. Okay. Noah now began to gradually get used to his identity as a driver and bodyguard. After returning to the highest level hotel called Bright Starry Sky, Rog returned to the supreme suite he lived in alone. After arriving at Nova City, Rog booked 5 supreme suites in this hotel. Even Noah and Blackie were assigned to their own suites. Because there was nothing particularly urgent, in the past 5 days, they fully enjoyed their trip to Xander. However, while he was eating, drinking, and squandering, Rog still did some proper business. Large-scale acquisition of technological information and related equipment on Xander, and at the same time, various combat equipment, including energy weapons. Most of the civilizations in the universe look down on the civilization on Earth, and it is indeed reasonable. Many technologies that have not even been developed on Earth are public information with a confidentiality level close to zero in alien civilizations such as Xander. Take the simplest spacecraft drive engine for example. This is a high-tech technology that has not yet been successfully developed on Earth. But for those civilizations that have opened the era of the universe, this is the simplest basic technology. Just like the cars on Earth, it is a technology that ordinary people can buy or master at will. Rog intends to pack a copy of these relevant technological information and take it back as a small gift for Hinata and Tani. As for the information and finished products of the energy weapons, he intends to leave them for his own Konoha. In addition to these information and items, he also commissioned a special acquisition firm to purchase living animals and seeds of various animals and plants on a large scale. Once these alien animals and plants return to Earth, they may trigger an uncontrolled biological invasion disaster. Therefore, Rog intends to throw these animals and plants directly onto the planet Tatooine that he is developing. Calculating the time, the infrastructure of Konoha Hidden Village on Tatooine should have been established by now, and it is time for the dead planet Tatooine to be rejuvenated. Rog originally had a more extreme and crazy plan to restore the vitality of Tatooine. Star-Lord's father, Igo, is a self-aware planet. Rog's original plan was to use Igo's power to restore the vitality of Tatooine. However, after considering the gap in strength between him and Igo, he temporarily put this plan on hold. Although he can't deal with Igo for the time being, it doesn't mean that he will ignore Igo's existence. In addition to being an important factor in his plan for Tatooine, Igo is also related to a super huge and important plan in his future. After fighting with Mephisto, Rog roughly inferred the limit that the system can reach. Although the strength of a divine father is enough to dominate one side of the universe, there is still a long way to go before Rog can achieve his dream of becoming the god of ninja. Therefore, he intends to restore the traditional craftsmanship of the Otsutsuki clan. Planting divine trees on an alien planet. Chapter 373. An Otsutsuki who did not want to plant trees was not a good Otsutsuki. Although Rog was not a member of the Otsutsuki clan, he was still very interested in this traditional skill of the Otsutsuki clan. And before he transmigrated, he had the habit of collecting energy to plant trees every day. Now that he thought about it, he was really patient back then. After putting the latest information and valuable research materials into the psychic scroll, Rog left the hotel with the Flying Thunder God and came to a warehouse at the port of Nova Star City. Only the collected information and a small amount of valuable research materials would be sent to the hotel suite. As for the large instruments, weapons, and equipment, as well as the large number of alien animals and plants, they would be sent to another warehouse that was responsible for delivery. The one in charge of guarding and delivery was, of course, the hard-working Blackie. Blackie originally wanted to go out with Hulk to taste the alien delicacies, but after trying it for a day, he gave up on this naive idea. As a special symbiotic body, Blackie had no interest in these so-called delicacies. To him, food that was rich in energy was his favorite. When Rog's figure appeared in the warehouse, the humanoid Blackie immediately walked over and handed the transparent glass-like tablet in his hand to Rog. Everything received in the past few days is recorded on it. I've checked the quantity, there's no problem. Thank you for your hard work. After receiving the tablet from Blackie, Rog quickly browsed through it and then put the tablet aside. Shadow clone technique. Bang 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 bang. Clouds of white smoke continued to appear in the warehouse as dozens of shadow clones were summoned by Rog. After casting the shadow clone technique, Rog did not stop what he was doing. He took out the hanging ring that was necessary to cast the teleportation portal spell. After coming to Nova Star City, he had already tested it. He could directly open the teleportation portal to Tatooine from Xander. Therefore, he planned to use the teleportation portal to send the purchased instruments, equipment, and alien animals and plants to Tatooine. After putting the ring on his left hand, Rog took a deep breath and began to construct an image of Tatooine in his mind. After dealing with the hive that the Kree had exiled to Tatooine, he had never been to Tatooine again. However, this did not affect him from casting the teleportation portal magic. As long as he could visualize the destination in his mind and imagine the details clearly enough, he would be able to construct a stable portal. Of course, the premise of all this was to have enough magic power. As his right hand continued to draw circles in the air, the teleportation gate glowing with golden sparks gradually took shape. Rog heaved a sigh of relief when the 10-meter-wide portal was fully formed. Although he did not know how far Tatooine was from Xandar, one thing he was certain of was that the distance between Xandar and Tatooine was much closer than Sokka. At the very least, after casting the teleportation gate this time, he still had more than half of his mana remaining, and the consumption was far less terrifying than the previous time. Without any instructions, as soon as the teleportation gate appeared, the shadow clone immediately turned into a porter and began the fast and orderly transportation work. Large research instruments, cargo boxes containing weapons and equipment, metal cages holding alien animals, planting boxes with alien plants, and a large number of miscellaneous boxes including alien plant seeds were moved into the teleportation gate by the shadow clone one by one. While the shadow clone turned into a porter, Rog himself did not stay idle. He walked directly into the teleportation gate and summoned a mobile phone-like communication device from the summon scroll. Strictly speaking, this communication device, which was similar to a mobile phone, was a mobile phone. But unlike a normal mobile phone, this mobile phone can only connect to a special satellite network. I can actually find a signal. It seems that the basic construction of Konoha's hidden village is faster than I expected. Looking at the satellite signal that appeared on the screen of the mobile phone, Rog showed a satisfied smile, and then dialed the only number on it. The number was connected within a few seconds, and the image of the 32-year-old young woman after marriage appeared on the screen of the mobile phone. Good morning, Rog-sama. Your current location is more than 1,500 kilometers away from Konoha's hidden village. A Quinjet and intelligent guard will pick you up later. Please wait for a moment. Although the Hinata on the screen looks very intelligent, Rog doesn't know if it's his illusion, but he always feels that she's not as pleasing to the eye as the Hinata in Konoha's headquarters. However, this also has something to do with the fact that the Hinata here is not the real Hinata. The one in Konoha's headquarters on Earth is the real Hinata. The one on Tatooine is just a clone program copied by Hinata according to her own program. An artificial intelligence self-replicating another artificial intelligence. This is very artificial intelligence. When Hinata was doing this, Rog was always a little worried about whether she would create an uncontrollable artificial intelligence crisis. No need to pick me up, I will leave in a while. I will leave something here, you can arrange someone to come and pick it up. Those animals and plants, you can study them first. If there is no problem, you can raise them or plant them near Konoha. I will also send something from time to time in the future, you can arrange someone to come and pick it up. After saying that, Rog directly closed the call and threw the mobile phone that can only be used on Tatooine back into the summon scroll. When the shadow clone moved all the boxes to Tatooine, Rog returned to the warehouse on Xandar and closed the huge golden portal. Ant-Man Scott squandered 50 million new star coins in the past 5 days, and Rog spent nearly 800 million new star coins for the things in the warehouse, as well as the precious raw materials in the summon scroll. In terms of the degree of squandering, he is the real spender these days. After deducting the expenses of these days, Rog has less than 500 million new star coins in his hands, but he doesn't have any particularly large expenses. Everything that needs to be bought has been bought, and the rest of the scattered things don't cost much. According to the plan, when they spend all the new star coins in their hands, they will almost return to Earth. After sending all the things in the warehouse to Tatooine, Rog returned to the hotel with Xiao He. Not long after he and Xiao He returned to the hotel, Hulk, who had been eating and drinking outside all day, and Natasha, who accompanied Hulk to look for delicious food, also returned to the hotel. But this time, it was not only the two of them who returned to the hotel, but also several soldiers of the new Star Corps. Hello, Mr. Rog, I am Roman Day, the Centurion of the new Star Corps. The new Star Supreme hopes to see you. Chapter 374. Supreme Nova. Rog frowned as he looked at Roman Day, who was wearing a dark green new Star Corps uniform and had short curly brown hair. He looked no different from an ordinary middle-aged man on Earth. Rog did not immediately answer the new Star Corps Centurion. Instead, he quickly recalled in his mind. In the past few days, other than spending like a nouveau riche in New Star City, they did not do anything that violated the laws of Xander. Here, Rog instinctively ignored the fact that he bought restricted weapons and equipment illegally. Wasn't it normal to buy some guns and ammunition? Even America, a democratic country on Earth, did not restrict this. Can I ask why the new Star Supreme wants to see me? Roman Day came to inform him with a courteous face. Rog would of course treat him with courtesy. This was a basic quality that every citizen who received compulsory education should have. Supreme Nova was not an ordinary person. Why would the most luxurious suite in Xander's hotel be called the Supreme Suite? The reason was similar to how five-star hotels on Earth would call their luxurious suites the Presidential Suite. Supreme Nova's strength might not be much, but he was definitely the most powerful person on Xander. In other words, he was the ruler of Xander. I'm not sure about the specifics. The order I received was to invite you, Mr. Rog, to the new Star Corps headquarters to meet Supreme Nova. Although I'm not sure what Supreme Nova wants to talk to you about, I think it should have something to do with the Carey Empire. At this point, Roman Dai didn't continue to speak. Obviously, as a new Star Corps Centurion, Roman Day definitely knew the truth of the matter. However, the current him did not intend to reveal everything. The position of a new Star Corps Centurion did not sound like much, but it was already the highest level of existence in the new Star Corps. It was the elite warrior second to none in the new Star Corps and had the authority to mobilize and command the new Star Corps. In terms of military ranks on Earth, a new Star Corps Centurion was roughly equivalent to a general in Earth's army. Moreover, it was a general who had the authority to command. Since you're so enthusiastic, if I don't go, it'll be hard to explain. Let's go, I also want to see the new Star Corps headquarters. With that, Rog raised his left hand, indicating for Roman to lead the way. When Roman Day and the other 4 new Star Legion warriors turned around, Rog turned to Natasha and the others and said, "If you have anything else you want to buy it as soon as possible. We might have to leave Xander." Roman Day, who was walking at the front, clearly heard Rog's words, but he didn't say anything and walked straight to the elevator. Although Roman Day didn't reveal too much, Rog could roughly guess what would happen next. If nothing unexpected happened, the new Star Supreme was going to entrust him with a task. And the contents of the commission were very likely related to Luo Nan, the accuser. This was why he reminded Natasha and the others to make preparations to return to Earth. The 4th rule of commission was that before the current commission was completed, the next commission could not be accepted. Under Roman Dai's lead, Rog boarded a small aircraft parked on the top floor of the hotel and flew directly to the core area of New Star City, the new Star Corps headquarters. The new Star Corps headquarters wasn't located in the central area of New Star City, but in the restricted flying zone near the port. Other than the new Star Corps aircraft, any aircraft that entered the airspace would be subjected to intensive anti-aircraft fire from the ground. Compared to the buildings in the city, which were mainly light white and had a curvaceous shape, the new Star Corps headquarters building had a more sturdy appearance. The light gray color made the entire building look like it was made of steel. If it wasn't for the huge octagonal star symbol of the new Star Corps hanging on the exterior of the building, it would be very difficult for tourists from other planets to connect this building with the new Star Corps headquarters. With Centurion Roman Dai leading the way, Rog entered the new Star Corps headquarters building without any obstructions. In a meeting room that wasn't very spacious, he saw the legendary new Star Supreme. Like Centurion Roman Dai, new Star Supreme had an extremely similar appearance to a human from Earth. Even new Star Supreme's hairstyle was extremely similar to the retro hairstyle that was popular in America in the 60s and 70s. If one didn't look at the new Star Corps uniform that new Star Supreme was wearing, she would look no different from a woman from Earth in her 60s or 70s. That's right, this new Star Supremacy was a woman. And on her body, Rog didn't sense any energy other than life energy. Clearly, this new Star Supreme wasn't a warrior. Rog even suspected that she didn't even know the most basic combat techniques. But at the level of new Star Supreme, there wasn't much need for combat strength. You're the Rog who defeated Ronan the Accuser twice. The moment Rog entered the meeting room, New Star Supreme opened her mouth and asked. Yes, I'm that Rog. You look more refined than I imagined. I can't see the tough attitude that ordinary warriors have on you. This extremely benevolent-looking Nova Supremacy sized up Log and continued. Because I'm not an ordinary warrior. I'm the more powerful kind. Although he was facing the highest commander of Xander and the New Star Corps, Rog didn't show any fear or panic. Instead, he was incomparably relaxed and casual. Rog didn't doubt the combat strength of the New Star Corps. To a certain extent, he actually quite admired the New Star Corps. A corps that could go head-to-head with the Carey Empire, one of the three great empires of the universe, and even fight to a standstill couldn't be weak. Otherwise, a country like Xander that pursued civility too much would have been destroyed by the Carey Empire long ago. Rog didn't have any objections to Xander's efforts to improve the civility of their citizens. But in his opinion, Xander's approach could easily cultivate the citizens of Xander into docile cowards without any blood. In contrast, he preferred the harsh education style of the Carey Empire that leaned towards Sparta. You're indeed the more powerful kind. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to defeat Ronan the Accuser twice and fight a lunatic like Thanos to a draw. Obviously, the New Star Corps' intelligence on Rog came from Sokka. This couldn't be blamed on the New Star Corps. After all, he had just emerged in the universe. If they wanted to investigate him, they could only start from Sokka. Let's stop with the pleasantries. I want to know why New Star Supreme of the New Star Corps suddenly wants to see me, an alien tourist from another planet. Chapter 375. I hope you can come with us to the Kree Empire. You have defeated Luo Nan twice. Your presence can reduce the possibility of the Carey Empire making unwise moves. Nova Supremacy stated his purpose straightforwardly. Are you sure this will work? I feel that my presence in the mission will only provoke the Carey Empire. Rog wasn't surprised that Nova Supreme would have such thoughts. But he always felt that Nova Supreme was taking things for granted. Even though he had defeated Luo Nan, the controller, twice, this did not mean that his existence would cause the Carey Empire to become even more restrained. It would be abnormal if the Carey Empire, which had always been unyielding, became afraid of him just because he was in the diplomatic corps. I can't guarantee that this will work, but with you, the Carey Empire will be more cautious. As long as the Carey Empire is a bit more cautious, it will be enough for the mission. Supreme Nova explained once again. You can rest assured, this diplomatic mission to the Kree Empire was invited by the Kree Empire. They want to end the war with us and sign a peace treaty that both sides can accept. As long as you are willing to help, no matter what your request is, we will try our best to satisfy you. We know that you have been collecting some documents and equipment recently. If you need, we can provide you with top-secret documents and high-level equipment that can't be obtained from the black market. Rog's purchase of weapons and equipment on the black market wasn't hidden from the New Star Regiment. Now, this has become a bait for Nova Supreme to tempt him. I need to discuss it with my companions. If they don't have any objections, we can discuss the specific content. Rog didn't directly refuse Nova Supreme's proposal, but he also didn't accept it immediately. He still had the commission to bring Dr. Banner back to Earth. Before completing this commission, he couldn't accept other commissions. Although he could accept Nova Supreme's commission without the system, he wouldn't be able to get the ninja coins rewarded by the system. Ninja coins, he would never complain about having too much. When you go to the Carey Empire, your companions can continue to stay in Nova City. We will provide them with the best service. We will not let you have any worries. Although it was the first time Nova Supreme met Rog, she had already browsed through the information of Rog, Hulk, and the others in detail. Even Rog and the others' contact with the Bloody Gladiator in Halton City was also recorded. So in Nova Supreme's view, whether to accept the mission to the Carey Empire or not, Rog could decide by himself. There was no need to discuss it with Hulk and the others. However, she never thought that Rog wasn't worried about the safety of Hulk and the others, but whether he could get ninja coins. Thank you for your kindness, but I still need to discuss it with them. Tomorrow, I will give you a final answer. Roger didn't want to continue talking about this matter with Supreme Nova, so he ended the conversation. Resplendent Starry Sky Hotel, Supreme Suite. That's the general situation, so I'd like to ask for your opinions. If I accept the commission, I must send you, or Hulk, back to Earth. Don't ask me why, it's OCD. Of course, if you don't want to go back to Earth for the time being, it doesn't matter, I can directly reject this commission. Rog, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room, said to Hulk with a serious face. Whether Natasha and Scott stay or not, it doesn't affect him accepting the commission. The key is Hulk. If Hulk doesn't want to return to Earth now, Rog won't force him to go back. The commission is a commission, Hulk is a friend, he can't force a friend. Hulk doesn't like Earth, Hulk doesn't want to be a burden to you, Hulk can go back, Hulk is willing to help friends. Hulk said in a low voice. At the same time, he raised his huge right hand and gently patted Rog's shoulder. Although Hulk doesn't know why he is the key to whether Rog accepts the commission or not, as he said, he doesn't want to be a burden to Rog, he is willing to help Rog. Thanks, big guy. Rog patted Hulk's right hand that hasn't had time to retract and said with a smile. Since Hulk is going back, then let's go back, we left Earth to bring Hulk back. After Hulk made his decision, Natasha immediately gave a reply. However, when Natasha answered Rog, Scott's face showed an extremely reluctant look. The luxurious life of a nouveau riche has only started for a few days, so it's inevitable that Scott, who has always been poor in economic conditions, will feel a little reluctant. Then when are we going back? Can your portal magic take us directly back to Earth? Natasha looked at Rog and continued to ask. Now or tomorrow, it's up to you. I will take you back with the portal, but not directly to Earth, but to a transit station first, and then to bring you back to Earth from the transit station. Before returning to the hotel, Rog had already planned a specific return route, a relatively convenient return route. Although this will slightly expose some of his little secrets, it doesn't matter. Because Hulk and Scott both wanted an unforgettable return night, the time to return to Earth was finally set at noon tomorrow. At noon the next day, the naked Natasha woke up Rog, who was sleeping next to her, and then dressed up in front of the sleepy Rog. When Natasha was thoroughly dressed, Rog got up from the bed with a yawn and walked tiredly to the bathroom. Rog doesn't know whether Hulk and Stick's return night was memorable or not, he only knows that he was very tired this night. After everyone gathered and ate an expensive lunch with the characteristics of Xander, Rog opened the portal to Tatooine in the living room of the suite. Without needing Rog's instructions, Natasha and others, who were already prepared, walked into the portal and came to the planet belonging to Rog. Where is this? Looking at the barren land around her, Natasha asked doubtfully. This is my planet, and it's the reward for one of my commissions. Rog briefly explained, then began to identify the direction. Quantum transmission. When he confirmed the specific location of Konoha's hidden village, he used quantum transmission to bring Natasha and others to Konoha's hidden village. Chapter 376. This is Konoha's hidden village? Looking at the city in front of her, which is a combination of punk futuristic and ancient Chinese style, Natasha asked in disbelief. To be precise, this is the new Konoha's hidden village, not the Konoha's hidden village where I learned ninjutsu. Although there is no such thing as Konoha's hidden village in this world, Rog won't forget the origin setting that he casually said at the beginning. Acting should be done completely, especially paying attention to the details. As a cautious ninja, Rog will certainly pay attention to this point. This is incredible. You actually have your own planet, and you are building your own Konoha's hidden village. This is simply, like the shocked Natasha. Scott also showed a look of disbelief after seeing the Konoha's hidden village under construction. Although they have been to several alien planets, the scene in front of them is still beyond their scope of understanding. An Earthling has an alien planet suitable for human survival, and has built his own city on it. This is a major milestone that can change the history of mankind, just like the discovery of the American continent by Columbus. No, what Rog did is much crazier than Columbus. What he discovered is not a new continent, but a new planet, a habitable planet. In fact, this is nothing. You have also traveled in the universe for a while, you should have experienced the vastness of the universe. In the universe, there are many undeveloped planets like Tatooine. If you are interested, you can also find a planet of your own. Rog explained casually. He brought Natasha and others to Konoha's hidden village not to show off that he has a planet. The reason why he came here is purely to return to Earth from here. Under the guidance of an intelligent robot, Rog and others came to the transmission base in Konoha's hidden village. After a lot of research and testing, Konoha's headquarters finally stabilized the coordinates of the space channel that will constantly change with the rotation of the planet, and fixed the entrance of the space channel in a huge building. This is an open-air building similar to a football field, and even the area is very similar to a football field on Earth. In Hinata's plan, this place will become a spaceport for transporting materials from Earth in the future. In the center of the building, there was a circular platform 1 meter above the ground, and in the position of the circular point, there was a 1 meter tall black boulder. The platform had a diameter of 50 meters, and it could open up a spatial tunnel with a diameter of 35 meters at most. Of course, the size of the spatial tunnel depended on the size of the goods being transported. For people like Rog and the others, who only needed to pass through a space channel to return to Earth, a space channel with a diameter of 2 to 3 meters would be enough. The black stone placed on the dot was cut from the black boulder by Hinata, and its function is equivalent to the gate of Konoha. Through the mysterious connection between the two black stones, they can open the space channel from Konoha Hidden Village to the Konoha headquarters. It was a bit like using two black stones to create a spatial door that could be opened between Earth and Tatooine. No matter which side he opened the door from, he would be able to reach the other side smoothly. Roger didn't know what scientific theories were involved in this, but Hinata explained it to him in such a way back then. By the way, although this place will be announced by me sooner or later. But before I announce it to the public, I hope you can forget everything you see here for the time being. Before jumping into the space channel formed by the liquefied black boulder, Rog said to Natasha and the others around him. "No problem, I'm very good at keeping secrets." Scott said first. After Scott's statement, Natasha and Hulk also nodded, indicating that they won't leak the secret. The next thing was relatively simple. Through the space channel built by the black boulder, Rog and others smoothly returned from Konoha Hidden Village on Tatooine to the headquarters of Konoha Intelligence Agency in Washington, D.C. However, before Natasha and the others had time to take a good look at the secret laboratory of Konoha's headquarters, the hemispherical energy shield formed by quantum transmission enveloped them again. Although he has a good relationship with Natasha and Hulk, and he doesn't mind them visiting Konoha's headquarters, now is not the right time to visit. Through quantum transmission, Rog and others instantly crossed from Washington to the duplex base in the suburbs of New York. When those familiar buildings appeared in front of them one by one, Natasha and Scott inexplicably felt like they had returned home after a long separation. "Big guy, although I'm a little reluctant to part with you, I can only say goodbye to you for the time being. Let Dr. Banner come out, it's time for him to go home." Rog's commission was to bring Dr. Banner back to Earth, but now, it is not Dr. Banner who has returned to Earth, but Hulk. So strictly speaking, his commission has not been completed yet. "When you come back, you must come to Hulk. Hulk wants to learn your green light move." Before returning control of the body to Banner, Hulk said to Rog very seriously. The green light move mentioned by Hulk is actually the visual effect after opening the third gate of life in the Hashimantanku. When Roger bullied Ronan, the accuser, in the arena, he opened the third gate of life. Therefore, Hulk had firmly memorized it. "No problem, after I come back, I will teach you the Hashimantanku. At that time, no one will be able to stop you if you release the green light first." After that, Rog raised his right hand and bumped fists with Hulk, reaching an agreement with Hulk. Under the gaze of Rog and others, Hulk returned control of the body to Banner, and his huge body began to shrink rapidly. It didn't take long for Dr. Banner to appear in front of them in ill-fitting elastic shorts. I'm back. Is this the duplex headquarters?" Although Hulk returned control of the body to Banner, he didn't seem to have left any memories for Banner, causing Dr. Banner, who reappeared, to look confused and puzzled. Not long after Dr. Banner appeared, Tony, Rogers, and the others from the American team rushed over. Rog didn't stay at the duplex headquarters for too long. He briefly told Tawny about the process of rescuing Hulk, and then returned to Konoha's headquarters. Not long after he returned to the office at Konoha's headquarters, he received a text message from the bank. Amount credited, $1. This $1 is the reward Tawny paid for this commission. Although the reward is unprecedentedly low, the system still passed this commission with only a reward of $1. Moreover, this reward of $1 was requested by Rog. I'm not going to rescue Dr. Banner, I'm going to rescue my friend, Hulk. Chapter 377. Xander, New Star City, Supreme Suite of the Bright Starry Sky Hotel. Is this Xander? It's so cool. Can I go out and have a look? I promise I won't let anyone else find me. Wearing a light blue sportswear, Quicksilver Pietro was running at top speed, his voice constantly coming from various rooms. I'll take you out later, after we've met the guests. Rog was sitting on the sofa in the living room, rubbing his temples with a headache. According to his plan, only he and Xiao He would return to New Star City. But plans can't keep up with changes, especially when the people who entangled him were Daisy and Pietro, two energetic young people. After knowing that Rog was about to leave the headquarters again and go to an alien planet in the universe, Daisy and Pietro didn't want to leave. This made Rog regret why he returned to the office. He just planned to go back to the office to see what happened in Konoha's headquarters during this period, but he had just returned to the office when Daisy and Pietro rushed in. Then, there was a simple and complicated negotiation process. The final result of the negotiation was that he took Daisy and Pietro, two energetic and curious guys, to Xander. That's what you said. Anyway, during this time, I'll go wherever you go. Don't even think about getting rid of me. After running back and forth in the suite several times, Pietro finally stopped and sat on the sofa opposite Rog. If the employer doesn't mind, I can let you follow me. But if the employer doesn't agree, you can play in this city for a while. After I complete the commission, I'll take you back to Earth. Because it involves the peace agreement between the two countries, Rog wasn't sure whether Xander Supreme would agree to let him take Daisy and Pietro with him. It's not a big problem to add one more person to the mission. Xiao He can transform into a weapon form, so it's not a big problem to bring him there. The key to the problem is whether Xander Supreme is willing to have two other Earthlings in the mission, especially Daisy. Although Daisy's appearance doesn't seem to have any problems, she is, after all, a descendant of the experimental products abandoned by the Kree tens of thousands of years ago. Bringing Daisy to the Carey Empire, no one could guarantee what would happen. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, the Centurion of the New Star Legion, Roman Day, once again came to the hotel, and then looked at Daisy and Pietro beside Rog with a puzzled expression. Where did these two people come from? What about Hulk, Natasha, and the others? Good afternoon, Mr. Rog. May I ask where your previous companion went? Roman Dai put away the doubt on his face and asked seriously. They have returned to our home planet. As for these two, they are also my companions. This is Pietro, and this is Daisy. Roger briefly explained the situation and introduced Pietro and Daisy to them. I see. If Mr. Rog has nothing else to do, why don't we go and meet Jizun now? No problem, thank you for your hard work. Under the lead of Roman Dai, Rog and the other two once again came to the reception room he came to last night and saw Jizun, who didn't change his appearance at all. When he saw Pietro and Daisy, a trace of doubt appeared on Jizun's face. However, this doubt quickly disappeared, as if it had never appeared in the first place. Rog, since you are here, it means that you have made a decision, but these two are? Rog once again introduced Daisy and Pietro, and emphasized Daisy's identity. When he first came to New Star City, he had already told Daisy about the origin of the Kree race, so Daisy is also very clear about the accident that may happen if she goes to the Carey Empire. This is one of the reasons why Daisy has been so quiet all this time. So that's how it is, Miss Daisy's race is indeed special, but since she is your companion, Rog, I believe you can protect her safety. After looking at Daisy carefully several times, Jizun said with a smile. On the surface, Jizun didn't seem to mind Pietro and Daisy joining the diplomatic mission at all. But for some reason, Rog felt that there was something wrong with Jizun's smile. Is this the political scheming of a superior? The peace agreement this time may not be as simple as it seems. Signing a peace agreement with the Carey Empire has become the common goal of most citizens of Xander. Although the years of war did not completely drag Xander into the quagmire of war, it still had a considerable impact on the lives of Xander's citizens. If it weren't for the many resources from the subsidiary planets, Xander would not have been able to maintain its current rich standard of living. In addition to the impact on their lives, Xander's excessive pursuit of citizen literacy was also a main reason for the citizens' opposition to the war. Since you have already trained your citizens to be polite, you can't ask those who don't even know how to swear to kill on the battlefield. Of course, civilized people did not like violence and war, so signing a peace agreement to stop the war became the common choice of these civilized people. With the new star's permission, Pietro and Daisy, the 2 extra members, were added to the list of envoys. At this point, the 4 people, including Rog, were all granted the status of military officers of the diplomatic mission. Except for the chief military officer of the diplomatic mission, the other military officers did not need to participate in the signing of the peace agreement. They were purely the security forces of the diplomatic mission. The chief military officer of the diplomatic mission was the Centurion Roman Day of the New Star Corps. Rog was a first-class military officer of the diplomatic mission. As for Blackie and Daisy, they were third-class military officers. Whether he was the chief military officer of the diplomatic mission or not, it didn't matter to Rog at all. He only cared about this commission, whether he could pass the system's judgment and get the corresponding reward. When signing the commission agreement, Jizun originally intended to let Centurion Roman Day sign it for him. But under Rog's insistence, Jizun finally wrote his name on the commission scroll. Commission content: protect the safety of the members of the diplomatic mission during the period of the Xander diplomatic mission to the Carey Empire. Commission status: incomplete. Commission reward: 200 ninja coins. As Rog expected, the commission passed the system's judgment smoothly. However, the content description given by the system's commission page and the content written by Jizun on the commission scroll were a little different. The commission given by Jizun was to protect the safety of the members of the diplomatic mission during the period of the Xander diplomatic mission to the Carey Empire. And the commission content given by the system added the period of the signing of the peace agreement. The diplomatic mission to the Carey Empire was to sign the peace agreement, so at first glance, it was normal for the content of the system and the scroll not to be completely consistent, but Rog, who has been dealing with the system for so long, didn't think so. The system will never give any superfluous content description. Under normal circumstances, the content of the commission scroll is the content of the system's commission page. So the system's self-added period of the signing of the peace agreement made his imagination boil involuntarily. This commission is a bit interesting,